I'm very juiced tonight. I'm just very excited about our guest.
We're here with Daniel Finkelman.
The man, the legend, filmmaker, producer, Danny Finkelman.
How do we get from Rebbe in a Chabad Cheder to working with Jeremy Piven on the next big movie?
It's not so difficult to understand.
Travel a lot. I film all around the world, from Marrakesh, Morocco to Singapore.
I get turned on and attracted to people who come to me with passion. Those are the people that speak to me, and those are the people that I like to work with. You look like Christian Bale a little bit.
Okay, I gotta leave. That means I'm getting an ugly Chabad girl, by the way.
I'm revealing it here. I hope it's still alive after this. He has 2 girlfriends. Listen, you're 100. It's time. And I'm literally talking to God like a schizophrenic. God, please. But $1.2 million came in. A day later. If you really, really want something, it'll happen. Just be careful what you wish for.
Once we get this movie sold, I'd love to come on your podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Mislaibeled. I think episode number 62, if I'm not mistaken. Here with my new co-host, Mr. Sexy, Dovi Nubiger. How are you, Dovi?
Let's keep that name, by the way. I'm very juiced tonight. I'm just very excited about our guest.
I love it.
We spent 4 minutes with him. I'm like, okay, he's the GOAT.
By the way, for starters, if you're watching this, if you could please like, subscribe, and comment, would greatly appreciate it. As I'm sure you all know, we're putting in a lot of work. So a simple like and subscribe would mean the world. Now, on to our guest. We're here with Daniel Finkelman. Do you go by Daniel, Danny?
Daniel.
You go by Daniel. Okay. So I literally, what did I say a second ago? You were here for 2 minutes, and I'm I stopped, they were talking, Daniel and Dovi were talking, and I was like, pause for 1 second, I love this guy.
Yeah, I was actually in the middle of a sentence when you did it. We were getting somewhere, and then you're like, stop, Dovi, I need to say something. By the way, he's getting a little scared. He might call Miss Ask him in the middle of this. He's like, I have 2 guys, they have a crush on me. They have me in their basement.
It's actually funny because Frank the Tank was here,
yeah.
And he put out a video. You know Frank the Tank from Barstool?
No.
He's a big Barstool. You know the Barstool, the Dave Portnoy Barstool. It's like a satire, famous satire website, whatever. Anyways, the point is that whatever, he was here. And he's a little on the spectrum type of autistic person. He's that's his character actually, and he's sitting here and he took a video. He's like, all right, guys, if you never hear from me again, I'm in a basement in Long Island. I kid you not, he put on a story. He has 150,000 followers. It was just hilarious. So yeah, people sometimes we bring them down to the dungeon. So yeah, I'm really excited that we're sitting here with you.
Inviting me.
Yeah, and as I mentioned very briefly, also we had a fellow by the name of who's a friend of mine. I consider a friend now, Zalman Kraus. And
Such a talent.
he is, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
Oh, is this the Sparks Boys choir thing?
This was the Jewish talent aspect.
The Jewish star, right.
The Jewish star, right? That was
yeah.
what it was
We haven't
called,
even
right?
gone into his story yet.
Okay, so Zalman specifically he came on the pod a year ago, early when we first started this. I think we started this now 13 or 14 months ago. And he came on and he was explaining his own personal trajectory of how he got to where he is now. And one of the stories was that he was part of this
Talent show.
project it was called again
Jewish Star.
Jewish Star, right? And he was part of it, and he mentioned Daniel's name. And ever since then, I've been peripherally watching your work.
Nice.
And I don't know why. Finally, I was just something. I'm reaching out. I don't know why I did it previously, but I honestly, I was sitting on the can and I was running through guests and I was like,
perfect.
This is actual truth.
Where all best ideas start.
Yes.
I'm not even kidding. That's where I get the most work done, by the way. I'm just it's either that or
Totally, by the way, yeah.
or it's the YouTube rabbit hole. It's one or the other.
Right.
But either way, yeah, I messaged you and you messaged me back right away. So that was awesome and it worked out really nicely because
Yes.
you told me you're till when, tomorrow?
Well, till Monday. I'm leaving to Israel next week.
To do some sort of shoot, you said.
Yeah.
So can you tell us we'll get into this more
we'll get
formally.
into that. I can't give you too much details, but I can say that
You're like every member of the IDF. I go to Israel, I can't tell you what I did.
it's super important for me. I would say it's probably one of the most important projects I've ever done in my life because it has to do. It's a miniseries about October 7th.
Wow.
It's not a documentary. It's scripted.
What do you mean it's not a documentary?
It's scripted with actors.
Actors.
Telling 4 different stories from the 7th of October. And this is super important because if there's one thing we're losing, it's the propaganda war, as we all know.
Right.
So it's super important to be there. On social media, forget it, it's a lost battle because we're 0.2% against 1 billion
Plus Muslims.
right? But on streaming platforms such as Netflix, etc., we actually have a chance to put out something powerful, which is not on the nose. So
Do you mean because Jews have such influence in streaming platforms?
Artists have influences, and happens to be, that there's a lot of Jews that are artists and creators, and if it's not done in on some kind of a political agenda, this is just telling 4 different stories of 4 characters on October 7th, one from the party and so on, that really took place, and it's going to be presented as a psychological thriller. Based on completely true stories.
Do these, without, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask it, do the stories meet at a certain point? Is it like kind of a vantage point type of movie?
They don't meet, but there's a different common denominator, which I won't get into now. But this is the first platform that I'm actually announcing this project.
We are honored.
So,
I'm actually honored. By the way, I was going to say before you even said that, I'm actually excited to see this.
Right. Well, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about actually is because I noticed like I don't know, remember which film festival, could it be in Santa Barbara Film Festival you were at?
Just recently, Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, that you were either holding a hostage sign or something.
Right,
and they picked it up. That it's obviously something of note when someone in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
How are you wearing that when Israel's killing thousands of children?
Right. So you know what? I was in Rome in the Rome Film Festival like 2 months ago. This was a couple of weeks after October 7th, and we had a premiere. I was there with Jerry and Piven.
Did we even say? By the way, Danny's a filmmaker. I don't think we even said it.
I didn't want to.
Yeah, Danny's a filmmaker.
Can we just get a slight background? I want to hear. Okay, you know something?
Yeah.
Continue with this.
Yeah,
story.
no, do this first.
No,
but
I'm just
so everyone
I
understands, he
was
produces
on the
and makes
red
films.
carpet, Rome Film Festival, and this is This is the long. It's bigger than Cannes, bigger than Berlin. I mean, it's the longest, most prestigious red carpet event in Europe. And we're there with stars and paparazzi and everything. And this is very fresh. A couple of weeks after. And I just randomly, I had an Israeli flag. I just took it out right there and then, and I was just
In Europe.
on the red carpet with the stars, and I was just going like this to the reporters with the Israeli flag. And then I took pictures with all the cast with the Israeli flag. And then I was summoned, I'm not going to say by who, and then I was like, why are you associating our film with politics? I'm like, this is not politics. This is my DNA. This is who I am. Why, with all due respect, when you have a certain kind of, let's just say, put it this way, I'm not going to go into that, but Ukraine, right? The war with Ukraine.
Right.
A year and a half ago. I was there last year at the Cannes Film Festival. And let me tell you, everyone had Ukraine flags. And everything was about Ukraine. I love Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. You had no problem with that, but when I put on one Israeli flag, that's political. That's me taking sides.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I decided when I was in Palm Springs, I was like, okay, I'm going to do something else. I'm not going to wear an Israeli flag. So I had a custom-made tuxedo made like an Israeli flag, basically with a big Star of David in the back, white tuxedo, blue lapel. And then I went like this, and I was telling everybody. This
That
is
has the name of a hostage on it?
No, this is what they give out at the Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. Basically, it says, our hearts are captured in Gaza. Bring them home.
Wow. And do you have no, not regard, but you don't care what the backlash will be for your career, let's say?
Absolutely not. No.
I love that. Why?
That's very respectable.
I love it, but why? Because so many people are scared.
Because just like, and excuse me for quoting our sages, but just like in, Esther Amalka and Mordechai told her, Mi yodea im le'et kazot egat malchut, right? Sometimes I'm a filmmaker, Hollywood, and all the stars and all that. All that life journey, it all came down to one moment, your moment of truth. When are you going to step up for that? Isn't this moment? When is that moment? If not now, then when? And I know it sounds like a walking cliche, but this is my truth, and that's what I'm trying to do.
You're not the first person that we've had on. In fact, someone said something similar, and I loved it as much. Ami Kozak.
Right, Ami did speak about that.
A very similar.
He actually was talking about how his journey in. He's a popular internet personality. He does a lot of impressions, and he was talking about how his journey for so long he was trying to break into the non-Jewish world, be cool, be not Jewish, and then after October 7th, he just doubled down. He's like, no, this is who I am. This is what I'm gonna do. If people leave my platform, so be it.
And although the silence in the beginning was really striking, but you'll be surprised. I was walking in Palm Springs, California. This was, one of the after parties. I'm talking Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, the biggest stars in the world are there. And I'm walking around with my huge Star of David in the back of my tuxedo, and I get stopped, surprisingly, by these young people like, excuse me, can I take a picture of your Star of David? I'm like, sure, what's up? And then they take out this little Star of David necklace, and they're like, "I'm also Jewish. Thank you for your support."
Really?
But they're not as comfortable.
They're not as comfortable, but it
showing
made
it.
them comfortable. I was basically a walking banner. They all of a sudden feel. They would never stop me before October 7th. They would probably be like, whatever, okay, Star of David. But now,
Right.
they care more. And that's what I feel changed since that date.
Wow.
Yeah, it is truly a chaotic time. I mean, we're 3.5, 4 months in, and I've had
It
this
still feels
personal
like
conundrum.
yesterday.
That too, but I've had this conundrum. It's like personal conundrum is like we could and should almost talk limitlessly about October 7th because it's like it's almost something that can't ever be forgotten. It needs to be talked and talked and talked. But then like we have the podcast and like I always like struggle a little bit with like how much time do you allot to it? Because then there's like, and I've always been like had that struggle. And we're gonna talk about it more for sure on the spot, I'm sure. Before
Especially
this is
now that
done.
we know you're doing this project. This is
Yeah,
so
but
cool.
but I always had like I've noticed like
We did like it's so funny. You come into episodes like we want to talk about this, and this. We want to ask him about these things, and then like you drop one. We could probably talk the whole episode just about
October
that.
7th for 4 hours.
Yeah, and about that project.
It's such a crazy and we're gonna get back to that. But I want to just get some background on yourself.
Sure.
Because
So can we? I mean, from what I understood, we were speaking briefly before. You grew up in Israel, moved to America. At some point, you were Chabad. From my understanding, at some point, you were even like.
I'm still Chabad. I'm still very close to Chabad. I love the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I love his teachings. I follow him, and I try to go as often as I can to his gravesite in Queens.
You take the Tunnel Express? No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God, this was like a whole new level.
what a disaster.
Wow.
When you do a
And by the
project
way,
on that'll be
my
fun.
wife is from Tzfat, so this is like it's known. It came from the Tzfatim. They were like the most extreme Meshichists.
Right, the ones that were digging the tunnels were actually moved from Tzfat.
Yeah, they came from
Oh
Tzfat.
really?
Yeah, they were.
Your wife grew up in Tzfat?
Yeah, I mean, I became Chabad through Tzfat, meaning I went through. Well, we'll talk about. I'll give you my quick bio.
Great, please.
Yeah.
But my question is, from my understanding, you were even a Rebbe in a Chabad school at one point.
Wow, you guys, you've done your
Yeah, I mean,
research.
you're a fascinating person. Like I started, and the more I was learning about you, I was like, I need to figure out who this guy is. So a guy who was a Rebbe in a Chabad school at one point, now is producing movies that are up for awards, being picked up by studios like A24. For those who don't know, one of the major studios that distributors of independent films, IFC Films, nominated for awards in different festivals. Like, how do we get from Rebbe in a Chabad Cheder to working with Jeremy Piven on the next big movie?
It's not so difficult to understand because Chabad is all about outreach and being an ambassador and opening a Chabad house. I literally am opening a Chabad house on Netflix. That's my mission. Now, to quote another verse, Akol kol Yaakov v'yadayim yedei Esav. So even though my, content is pure, I try to have it as pure as possible. Obviously, my appearance, as you could see right here, and everything else, I'm speaking the language of the world, and I talk in the language of the world, and not necessarily in that bubble. But the mission is still the same, outreach. I'm not going to tell you that I follow all the the rules of Chabad. I don't think to each his own. Everyone has their own, understanding of what that is. But being a teacher is all about educating students. So it's instead of educating just 12 kids in a classroom, now I'm educating 12 million people on a streaming platform.
So you're in your mind, you are a shliach, and your location isn't Dubai, isn't Mexico, it is Netflix.
Correct.
That's so beautiful. And in I guess in the parable, the Adayim is like the vehicle to relay the Kol Yaakov. Looks like Esav.
Absolutely.
That's so
pretty cool.
fascinating.
Yeah.
That's so deep.
Yeah. And I truly believe that.
So but I want to go back to I personally am curious about the actual fundamentals. So you're saying you grew up in Israel and you moved from Israel to.
So I'm going to go backwards. My parents came from the former Soviet Union.
Okay.
And but I was already born in Israel, in Jerusalem, and then I came to America. And actually, I want to share with you a very quick story about me.
It doesn't have to be quick.
In fact, this is going to be included in one of my next films, this following story that I'm planning to, and I'm writing right now as well. But for this story, I'm going to first say L'chaim.
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 To life.
I mean,
Thank you
coffee,
again
but-
for inviting me.
Of course. All right, everybody, want to take a quick second to give a big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, CubX. CubX is an IT company that personally does my own IT. I've also recommended these guys to at least 7 close friends of mine that have very successful companies. They have all come back to me and said things that these guys are second to none. This is not a company that when you call them, you have to wait on hold for 25 minutes. This is not a company when you get through to someone that doesn't know exactly what they're doing. These guys are top notch. You call them, you get through in 60 seconds. You can get right back to work. For me, that's the number one thing. When I have a technology issue, I don't want to be waiting on hold. I want the problem fixed immediately. These guys are incredible. Specifically, they operate and focus on people with small businesses, 5 employees or more. They also have companies that are on staff for 500 plus employees. They're very, very big in the healthcare industry. If you want to reach out to them, you can hit them at 732-444-8771. Press 2 to speak to someone in the sales department. You can also email them at hello@cubx.com. That's hello@cubx.com. Or you could check them up on cubx.com. That's cubx.com. Again, my personal endorsement, wouldn't give it. I'm an impatient motherfucker, as everyone here knows. If these guys weren't the best, I wouldn't be recommending them. Give them a call if you are not happy with your current IT company or started a company and need a great IT company. These guys are the people. All right, back to our episode now.
In Jerusalem, when I was about 7 years old, I was obsessed with reading books, watching movies and reading books. And it was devastating to me when I learned at the age of 7 that I'm suffering from a very rare eye disease. I was literally allergic to the sun, like a vampire. Anytime there's sun out, even a little bit of sun, my eyes blow up and irritate, and I'm extremely uncomfortable. And then it went on and on into extreme pain. It felt like needles are stabbing my eyes. Only at night, when there's absolutely no sun, there was more calm. But because of all that, and I tried medicine and medication and drops and creams and everything, nothing seemed to help. I went to doctors, I went to rabbis, I went to Kabbalists, I went to Moroccan women who spat on me, who put chamomile tea in my eyes. Nothing helped. And then, when we moved to the States, I was 11 years old. And even though my family is not Chabad, my father had a friend of his who lived in Crown Heights, and so happened to be that the first month in America I spent in Crown Heights, and first Shabbos in America I spent with the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 770, and I sat right next to him, because that's where all the kids sat when he gave his Farbrengen. And I remember this vividly, how they gave me a little l'chaim, and they were like, okay, don't drink it until the Rebbe looks at you and nods and says l'chaim. And I'm holding it, I'm holding it, I'm holding it. My hand is getting very tired. But then, in my mind, I'm like, what kind of Rebbe is this? He doesn't even pay attention to me. At that moment, the Rebbe looks at me, l'chaim, l'chaim. That was my first exposure to the Rebbe. Sunday, I go and I ask for dollars. Now you're hearing it from me. I'm a cynic. I'm not, I'm not a big believer in all those miracle stories. No, I'm telling you, I know, okay. But I'm not a cynic like you, like a comedian. But all these miracle stories and this and that, like I take it with a grain of salt. But this is true and happened to me. And I go by dollars, and there's a video actually of it. And I'm standing, and I can share the video with you. And I'm standing with my heavy-duty sunglasses because, God forbid, I'm exposed to any sun. This was May. And I spoke to the Rebbe in Russian because Hebrew, which I spoke, I didn't know that the Rebbe spoke. English, I did not speak at that time at all. Russian, I spoke because of my parents. And I'm like, Rebbe, please give me a blessing. My eyes shouldn't hurt. Please, because I forgot to tell you, this is 4.5 years in. The doctors predicted I'm going to be blind. Wow. Their final diagnosis was, Danny is going to be completely blind by the time he's bar mitzvah.
And you were how old during this interaction with the Rebbe?
11.
11. And was there a diagnosis and a name to the diagnosis that you
There was a name. I just don't remember it right now. It's some Latin name. And it just went from bad to worse because at that
this was
point,
after all the doctors and Kabbalists,
all the doctors, treatments,
Moroccan
rabbis,
women.
4.5 years, nothing. And then I was like, whatever, I'm just going to ask. And the Rebbe gave me a blessing, and he said to me in Russian 3 times, Vavsio shoti jelish, which means in everything, 3 times that you do, you should have success. And he gave me a few more blessings, and that's it. And then I went out. I kid you not, a month and a half after, until this day,
You're good to go.
Nothing.
I'm good to go. And not only that, what am I doing for a living? Visual arts. Something that has to do with visuals. So I see my mission in life, and again, I know it sounds a little bit of a cliche, but I do see my mission in life, and I try to see it as to fulfill that vision of his. That's my Chabad affiliation.
Wow. What did the doctor say? What could they
My
explain
father,
it?
who himself is a doctor, was shocked. He doesn't believe it to this day. But
Wow. So your eyes don't hurt at all anymore? Like if you're good to go.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy. Unexplained. Other than that no.
unexplained.
Unbelievable. Can we,
1 second. No, 1 second. So. Okay, right. So that was when you said fine. That was when you came to New York. You went to Crown Heights. So
Yeah.
You.
So I was there for a month. Then I was living in Queens. Went to I was in Miami Boys Choir
Oh, really?
for about 2 years. Yes.
really? Were you in the famous Yerushalayim song that went viral?
Unfortunately not, and I mean that. I was like, ugh, that song. But I was with all the
Which
the
album
good
were you on,
ones.
if you don't
I
mind
was
me
on
asking?
Torah Today with
Or,
Nathan
like-
Stark, Ari Goldwag, all these guys.
Yeah.
Still keep
Moshe
up with that?
Majeski, Ari Goldwag,
Mish
a little bit.
Majeski, big real estate guy here.
Yeah,
You know Mish Majeski, right?
Chana Majeski, his brother. So we're all together. So that was my first introduction to the music world, so to speak, to the arts.
Do you still sing?
As a chazan sometimes, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So that was like your first entree into entertainment was Yerach Meal Begun in the
Correct.
Miami Boys Choir.
Yes.
And then what was like the next step after that?
The next step was being bullied in high school. That was
I
my
can't
next-
imagine. The guy in Miami Boys Choir
Right.
got bullied in high school. It never would have occurred to me.
I was still,
like
you know,
standard?
really.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't even know that Miami Boys was like the coolest.
You're
thing.
you're on all these video cassettes and like these red
Right.
vests going down slides in
Totally.
Israel. Oh,
No, I
Thank
guess.
you,
But to
thank
me,
you.
to me, it was the
I
coolest
love
thing.
you. Now meeting you, if we were in high school together, we would, yeah. I'd be shoving you in a locker.
It's great. Got it.
So bullied in high school, and then
Not really bullied, but you know what I mean. I'm like not completely no self-esteem in high school, and then I went to Scranton, Pennsylvania.
oh sure, Strange Yeshiva. Familiar with
Yeshiva.
Isn't that like super intense, that place?
Super intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And which it was so super intense that after the high school, I dropped out of high school and basically decided I'm leaving religion altogether and just.
I know someone that
all of
dropped out of
not
high
for me.
school.
Okay. You're not looking at me. I don't know what you're talking about.
We're all dropouts.
All right. Go on.
And it was the best decision of my life, actually. Just I did nothing for a year, absolutely nothing, like a real good teenager.
Like
and
a
then
bum.
I just, like a bum, whatever, just did my thing. Then I became an art dealer. Lived in Florida for a while. This is going back to Y2K era, right? 99, 2000.
I mean, I was 4 years old probably about at this time, but yeah.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
29, so
Right.
I was born. I'm a 94.
I'm born
So in
97.
99, I'm 5.
I don't even remember 9/11. That's how I explain to people how young I am.
Right, 9/11. So yeah,
I remember 9/11.
yeah.
All right.
This was, did my thing, had my parties and everything, the trance and everything else, and then I was exposed to Chabad. I remember sitting in Boca Raton with a huge fat joint in my fingers, bathing suit, and then some. And I'm gonna keep it
You don't have to
PG.
keep it
You don't
You don't have to
don't keep it PG for us.
Not for you, for my kids who are gonna watch
Oh,
this.
that makes
yeah.
more sense.
My kid actually is a fan of yours, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're going there? Wow, yeah."
I'm honored. That was a
And
thank
he
you.
was like, basically, so I'm just sitting there, but all I care about is Hasidus, learning Hasidus. And I'm with a big fat book of Hasidus. This is written by the Balatanya,
All this time you held on to that moment where the Chabad... Or
Not
the,
all that time. That was the moment where I started being exposed to the real, what's Chabad. Chabad is the insight. It's not just...
No, but I'm saying, did you
putting
hold
fill in.
on to that story where, like, in your mind, like, I'm not blind because did that make a
Yeah,
big
I always
effect on
had a
you?
very soft spot for the Rebbe. And I went to visit him a few more times, but my family was completely not Chabad. And but then I started whatever. I had different friends who interactions and then some. When I was someone who was Chabad and kind of pulled me into that. And I remember at some point I was so into Chabad, I wanted to marry a Chabad girl because I was like, oh my God, Chabad girls are so hot.
They're so hot.
Open-minded.
By the way,
Everyone knows that, but not just that.
Right.
The Rebbe gave the bracha, right?
I don't know. There's
He
something
did?
with that.
What was the famous thing that the Rebbe said? If the guys keep their beards, they're gonna get hot chicks. No.
That
Thank
must
you.
be
And
what
I-
it
and
is.
I remember
I have
going-
to, I have to
Famous
tell
thing
you
of all time.
this thing. I don't know if you ever scroll through Simcha Spot, but I used to like when I was dating, I would scroll through Simcha Spot, and all these like sharp-looking, sleek Litvaks were getting engaged to like okay girls, and then like you see the Chabad couples coming out of the OL getting engaged. It looks like the Chabad like the Shadchanim matchmakers for our non-Jewish audience like are taking someone directly correlated to how like fat and like gross your beard is. That's how hot a girl you get. They're all like coming out of the
love that.
OL with
It's
these
funny.
girls from
This is a
to the
famous
point
thing.
where
I'm not. Yeah.
I started going to the OL because I was like, maybe I'll find myself a wife there. Like not like davening to the Rebbe to find a wife. Like I'll just hang outside and these like hot
By the
Chabad
way,
girls.
it's true. Absolutely.
But I
true.
wasn't gross enough. They're like, no, we need a lubaf in a beard with his
It's
fly
crazy.
open.
Exactly.
Who's building a tunnel?
Yeah, exactly. Looking for Bob the Builder.
And yeah, I was like, listen, I was so into Chabad girls. I was I want a Chabad girl. Like they look great, they dress great, they're open-minded, they're just spiritual enough for me, like beautiful. So I met this matchmaker in Crown Heights, and like, please hook me up with the Chabad girl, please. She looks at me up and down exactly like you said, and she's like, not happening. You gotta look the part, you gotta be the part. Half a year in, and I'm sitting in this Boca Raton pool again with that same joint. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going for it.
Really?
I am freaking going for it.
So you became Chabad for the chicks. Let's just be honest.
Hell yes.
That's the greatest.
That is the most honest. I can so relate to that. That is the most honest take I ever heard.
I love it.
100%.
I love it.
And on that you say mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma.
Yeah.
For sure. And I
How else does it
completely
seem like you're upset about that decision either?
no. My wife is hot. for
Right.
sure.
So,
And
you're very comfortable.
yeah,
It's not like you're sitting here and regretting
Does she have
that.
friends? I'm just asking for
she
a friend.
does actually. We'll talk.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Are you single too?
I'm single. Yes,
So
100%. Yeah, definitely.
We'll put her on the speaker. We'll do this.
Yeah, we'll put it on. We'll cut this clip and throw it up.
Yeah.
You'll be the matchmaker. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, I decided I'm going for it because I was crazy and I was living on the edge. I still live on the edge, but a little differently. And I was like, I went to the other side of the edge. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm leaving everything behind and I'm enrolling myself. I was already 22, 23 at the time. I'm like, I'm going to a Chabad yeshiva in Sfat. Wow. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you should.
I remember
you don't
this is
do
like a
things halfway.
movie. This is like a road trip movie. You remember those movies where you have these little innocent girls come from a city bus in the 80s or the 70s.
Just a small town girl traveling on
yeah,
Lonely
Port
Road.
Authority, and then like they just grabbed by a pimp or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally happened to me. I'm like, I went off the bus, Israeli bus, with my suitcase. I'm like, excuse me, where's the Chabad yeshiva? I'm asking someone. He's like, Chabad yeshiva, follow me. And I follow him. True story. And I'm like, where can I be here? Is there a room? Would I need to talk to, the principal or someone here? Like, come, I have a bed for you. And he gave me his bed. And I was so, no, not together with him, but I'm.
No, I can't think that. I'm just saying that's an awesome story. Like that's great.
I was, and I very quickly I realized, like, wait a minute, is this your bed?
Like, what was the last time you did laundry, dude?
I quickly realized it. And like, yeah, but it's okay. I have another bed. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. There's so much Avas Yisrael here. There's so much love for another Jew. And then I go into this big, huge zal, they call it. It's like a hall.
What's a zal?
Zal is like, it's a Russian word for like a hall, basically.
Okay.
That's where they learn. It's like a besmedrash.
Okay.
400 young men are sitting and learning, but unlike in Lake
Learning like
Yeshiva,
Gemara or learning like Zohar?
Gemara, Hasidus, everything. But literally every half hour, 45 minutes, someone starts singing. And the whole yeshiva. And they go around and they're like, hey, hey. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. This is after, going through the grind of New York City and flight. I'm like, I'm sick of it. I want this.
Right.
And you're like, where are the
Lo
hot
and
chicks?
behold, yeah, 3 months. I'm like on this. I remember I got a phone call from this matchmaker, and he's like, I got a shidduch for you. I'm like, great, bring it on. My wife hates when I say the story, but I have to. I'm sorry, CP.
Well, that's why we didn't. That's why we didn't invite her.
She almost came, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
Should have.
And then basically she's like, I have a shidduch for you. She's blonde. I'm like, that's it? You think that's what I'm looking for? I'm like, give me something more. Don't worry, you're gonna like her. She's blonde. I'm like, I got it, but what's there? Just meet her. So I met her. We actually met, I think, more times than usual. We met 4 times during 2 weeks.
Four.
Wow.
Wow.
So kind of like
On the
Michelle.
4th time, I'm like, okay. And the matchmaker calls me, did you make a decision yet? This is on the 2nd week. And I'm like, no, I didn't make a decision. Because obviously, it's very hard. There's no touching, right? It's very platonic. And she hardly spoke. She was embarrassed. And I'm like, how can you make a decision? Spoke to the rabbi. I'm like, you know what? I'm jumping in.
Right.
I'm jumping in.
I assume you didn't talk to her about your filmmaking aspirations at this point in Spot.
No.
Well, did you even know
Hence-
you had filmmaking aspirations at this
Oh, hell yeah. As my brother can tell you.
time? Okay, so I
Yes,
didn't
yes.
know.
No, I always wanted to be a filmmaker. At
Okay,
the age of
well,
16, I was making my brother crazy. We were watching the videos, VHS.
Yeah.
And I was pausing literally every
Nanosecond.
every like second. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to think about this.
Right, what just happened?
And I wrote my own video movie guide. This is pre-internet days, so I was always a geek on that end. I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but then I kind of dropped it into other aspirations.
Right.
But my wife had no idea. My
Okay.
future wife.
What
Hence
movies
why
were
it came?
probably?
It came to her as ton of bricks that her Lubavitcher husband,
Right.
met her in Sfat, decided to be to go Hollywood.
When did she find that out?
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Oh, can you cancel whatever you have after this? By the way, it's gonna take.
I think after this, I'm done. Basically, like my kids are coming out of it. I'm literally opening all the cards here almost. Anyway,
I'm fascinated. So you can.
L'chaim.
Chaim.
I need to get some wine and some alcohol over here.
Yeah, we should.
I'm sitting here with my coffee. Like, yeah. Anyways, go on.
Anyway, I decided I'm going for it. I'm going to get married. And I remember even I obviously I've dated before. I've had girlfriends and everything. And I was always imagining my proposal as being something super romantic. I'm sure we all do. Whatever that is, bend in one knee, hide the ring in a cake, whatever that is.
Escape the room. Escape the room.
What happened?
I'm gonna get engaged and escape the room.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know who's gonna be willing to marry me. Yeah, but we haven't figured that out.
I love that. And I'm like, this for me was completely the opposite. We were sitting next to each other, and she's like, so did the matchmaker speak to you? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I think we'll go for it. So we'll go for it. Yes. All right.
Wow.
You have
Do you speak about
you
it?
have a tissue? Sure. Yeah, I have a little cold. All right. Congratulations, by the way. Yeah, I'll see you soon. Yeah. And that's it. That was it.
Wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
So you know what?
Can I ask you a question?
21 years later, and we're still married.
So, okay. So I was actually, it's so funny you're saying this because I was actually,
Food.
I have this conversation all the time with some of my friends, especially people that are disaffected yeshiva
Yeshivish,
guys.
as we like to say on this pod.
As Bashevkin likes to call it. And if you come out of the let's call it system, for lack of a better word, and you're not happy with it, the go-to thing is like, oh, how the dating system is like, oh, so stupid, blah, blah, blah. How do you expect to get married? And, after dating 8 dates or whatever. There is no proof, and I stand by this, and I believe this 100%, and I'm not someone who dates like short. I will date long, but there's no proof whatsoever that dating longer improves your odds of your marriage. It has a better relationship at all.
I agree.
Yeah, but it's for people within a given system. I think systems work for the people that it was designed for. So when you have a case like this where a guy's like had girlfriends and been out and done those things, and then they have to alter their expectations for romance and all these things to a 4-date.
I'm not denying.
I think that's so different.
I'm not saying that's not super cool that he did it. I'm just saying as a general thing that just simply put, having the amount of time you date someone doesn't necessarily correlate to how good your marriage is going to be. So like you could date someone 8 dates. If you looked people that dated 8 dates, for example, and got engaged versus people that dated for 3 years, I wouldn't say the marriages are better. There's no proof whatsoever the marriages are better for the people that have been
I think I understand what you're saying. I just think
personal
when you're comparing two different systems, that's true. When you compare, let's say, like Satmar Hasidim versus like non-Jews in Hollywood, that could be the case. But if you took like non-Jews in Hollywood and put them in a system where they're dating for 8 dates, like Satmar Hasidim, it would be a drastically, drastically worse, higher divorce rate, I think.
Yeah, no, maybe yeah, okay, granted. I'm not saying I disagree fully with that, but that's so part because of society. Not to make this too philosophical, it's partially because that's the society has developed them. That doesn't mean that in actuality it's any better.
Right, but that was the world he was coming from in a way. Like he had real courtships.
We're saying the same thing. We're saying the same thing. Either way, that's crazy. What was that?
What do your parents say?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, look, my father was absolutely shocked that I'm.
Your parents are religious, right?
My parents are religious.
So
Yeah.
I was trying to
They
get
became religious. Yeah.
So it's so funny because I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I didn't understand if you grew up religious. Or
Right, you came from Israel and then you went to Scranton Yeshiva. The next thing I heard, and you were at the Rebbe the minute before that.
Right.
So I'm like, what
So
is happening?
My parents became religious, Baal Tshuva, and typical to Baal Tshuva, they go kind of like they push me to the extreme.
Okay.
And but then my father completely balanced out. My parents got divorced at some point.
It's a hell of a balance out.
They should have gone on 4 dates. They would have.
For sure. Yeah.
They would never have gotten married after 4 days.
Right.
I make jokes about my parents too. Don't worry about it. Or about everyone. It's
No,
not personal.
definitely. And they're all remarried and so on. And
Okay.
my father was like, he absolutely was certain that I'm in a cult. And he wasn't wrong, by the way. I think that Chabad is a cult, but it's a good cult. It's not David Koresh. It's not a bad cult. It's a good cult. Not necessarily every cult is a bad thing. But they have, what I mean by cult is every step of the way you have guidance. Everything you do, the Rebbe had what to say about it. Now, this is my other side of, the other side of the spectrum on the Chabad movement and all that. Now, I love being in that cult sometimes. But when I went out that bubble, I'm like, where was I?
Right.
But at that point, my father called me out on it. And I remember like on the wedding day, on the chuppah, I was by the chuppah and my father was there and we're all there. And there was an MC. They have an MC of the chuppah. And he was like, and now the groom has a very important announcement to make. I'm like, nobody told me I have to make an announcement. I have no idea what am I supposed to say? And I'm looking around like, no. This is like in Haifa. An important announcement to make. Again, I'm like, what are you talking? What am I supposed to say? No, Yechi. Oh, Yechi Adonai Mashiach La'olam Va'ed.
Wow.
And like hundreds of people. Yechi Adonai La'olam Va'ed. Again. And my father was like, oh.
Yeah, it's too much.
And there was no point for you in like this engagement process, whatever, where you just like woke up one day and you're like, oh, holy shit, like I gotta get out. Like I made a mistake. There was no.
No, I
point.
loved it.
Okay.
I was so worn out from that whole New York vibe and city vibes. I was like, I'm Tzfat and I lived in Tzfat for the first 2 years of marriage.
You like the simplicity of it.
I loved, and then I till I didn't. But at first, I loved the simplicity of it. I loved the fact that just purity and like you said, without all those romantic bubbles of that mixed you up sometimes.
Yeah, total spirituality.
Yeah,
That's it. Just no materialism.
nothing.
But there's a beauty. I mean, that's what the soul is created for in a large. I mean,
Yeah.
I believe that. I definitely believe that.
Can we fast forward a little
I just
bit?
wanted to ask one thing. Your wife grew up in Tzfat?
My wife grew up in Tzfat. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So the first time when you moved from Tzfat and you moved somewhere else, that's the first time she ever left Tzfat? Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, put it this way: she grew up in Sfat, but her mother is from the Netherlands, and she's been there a few times. Her father is American, from Cleveland, so they spoke English at home. It's not like a complete culture shock. She's not like but
There's gonna be. Are you gonna make a movie about her life one day? Like this girl that's transported from the world of Tzfat to Hollywood?
maybe, but definitely a movie. I'm working on a movie about my character in it with the eyes. Meaning it's a coming-of-age story of a kid that it's not necessarily me, but it's my character with that. And the Rebbe is in that movie. So it's something that I'm working on for a couple of years now.
wow. That seems pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you had something you wanted to ask?
I have so many things I want to
so
ask,
let's rock and roll.
but I'm just trying to figure out if we should go on with the story first because I have questions. Let's go on with your story, like how you got into the filmmaking world. If we could understand, because right now we're still in Tzfat, how do we get to the Vigil and Menashe and the performance, all those amazing award-winning movies that you made? Like, how does that happen?
It happens because one of my favorite movies of all time when I growing up was Dead Poets Society
Okay.
with Robin Williams and Ethan Hawke. And one of the biggest mantras in that movie is where he quotes the Latin phrase "capre diem," which means "seize the day." In other words, jump in the water. Meaning, I knew for a fact I don't want to be a Chabad Rebbe in a school in Crown Heights or a rabbi in the Manhattan Beach Jewish Center for the rest of my life, working under a board and a vice president. If you're not going to pursue your dreams at some point, it's never going to happen. You think it's going to happen, but you wake up one day when you're 90 and you're like, shit, I should have done that. So I'm like, what am I waiting for? Now is the time. And that means you're taking a risk because you have a family now to support, and like, what are you gonna do? You want a filmmaker? Like, you know. Thank God, actually, my wife supported me because she wasn't like, you ain't no filmmaker. Get back to work and bring your paycheck 9 to 5. There wasn't a 9 to 5 paycheck. There was a lot of hard moments and a lot of hard times of me, you know, grinding my teeth, of being like, I'm going to pursue my dream, and I'm still pursuing my dream. I want to get that Oscar, and I will, and so on and so forth. Because I believe in pursuing dreams. We're in the business of making dreams a reality. So that's my answer.
You were preaching to the
Would on a practical level, like what you went to, you're a Rebbe in a Chabad school, so you take a flight and knock on Spielberg's door and say, "I want to pursue my dreams." Like something has to happen.
So very good. So you seize an opportunity. So I'll tell you, it all started with
Seize the Day. By the way, that quote from me is from the Newsies. I don't know if you ever watched the Newsies. That's one of my favorite songs in the Newsies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the performance is inspired a lot by the Newsies, like our
Really?
Yeah, a lot of
It hasn't aired yet.
choreography and so on and so forth.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a big like Christian Bale fan. So,
Oh yeah? Nice. You look like Christian Bale a little bit.
Okay, I gotta leave. Sorry, I gotta take a.
That's a big compliment right there.
No, he does.
That means I'm getting an ugly Chabad girl, by the way.
That's great.
That's funny. Anyway, yes. So, what's your question again?
So you're a Rebbe in a Chabad school teaching Manhattan Beach Jewish Center, and you decided it's time to become a movie director. What is step A, B, and C?
So I always say, and again, I'm throwing a lot of cliches today, but I try to live those cliches, and you know, that cheesiness is something that is part of my lifestyle. And basically, if you really, really want something, it'll happen. Just be careful what you wish for. And I realized that it happened with me. Things that I wanted for better or for worse, good things, bad things, people that I'm like, I want to interact with that person. You're going to get it, even though it may not be good for you, and so on and so forth.
That part is fascinating. I've been thinking this exact thing actually recently. Because I obviously want a lot of things, and there's certain things I want, and I ask myself, I'm like, if I got all this, which is going to happen, is this even good for me? Like, am I going to be happy when this is done?
Totally.
Or will I just be under even more stress than I'm in right now? Like, who said I want an empire? Maybe I want just total, like you said, maybe not spot, but just make the money that covers my means and my family, and this whole illustrious idea in my brain of just building an absolute 100-story skyscraper of whatever that 100-story skyscraper is for me.
Right.
Maybe that's just something that is fool's gold. You know, like I think it's going to be very enjoyable. But so what do you mean by that? That's my question. How do you decipher or figure out whether or not you want it or not?
This is something where you got to follow your instincts and know that the person that you're going to interact with and the thing that you want is actually good for you. And if not, you conveniently make it good for you. So how do you do it? Yeah, I mean, that's something exactly. That's the scary thought that many of our youth are facing, which is like, okay, I want to be this. What am I going to do? I'm going to knock on his door? Yeah, it's not going to happen, so might as well forget the whole thing. But obviously, it starts with step by step. And you just, if you get an opportunity, take it and do the best you can to do it. And that's what I tried to do. So my first opportunity, well, I was always into music, starting with the Manbridge Choir, and then they gave me first self-esteem to pursue myself as a kid. And then I started producing music back in Sfat. I had a choir. I did an album, whatever. I did, concerts and so on. Then I came here to the States, finally came back to the States here with my wife. And I started working with artists on producing music, and then I decided to do a music video, my first ever music video, combining my love for music and my love for film, and that's how it started. And I can talk about that. I mean, my first music video was Unity for Justice for Rubashkin.
Really?
Really?
How long
You have a
was
relationship with Rubashkin?
Yes, now I do. I mean, put it back then. He was still in prison. This was in 2010.
That was the song that everyone got involved in and sang. I mean, it's an old song. It was an MBD, like old.
Exactly.
Old song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which song was it?
Listen, brother.
Listen, friends, just another smile.
Yeah.
I know that song. It's a great
And I
song.
love that song. And I was sitting in my car and I was thinking about, I was like following everything what's happening, like in the five towns, Deal, New Jersey, Muncie, Williamsburg, Monroe, Lakewood, everyone, all the communities are coming together for this man, Shalom Rubashkin, who's sitting in prison. I'm like, it's as if he's sitting in prison, so all these communities who never get along, Lakewood and Chabad, and Satmar and Sephardim and Syrians all coming together for this man in unity. And I'm like, I love that song, We Are the World. Michael Jackson loved it. We are the world. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm doing the same thing. So I called Mordechai Ben David, which I knew, and I'm like, can I use that song? That song was co-written by Shia Mendelowitz, who just passed away.
Wow.
And he's like, speak to Shia. I spoke to Shia, and like, we're doing it. Once MBD is in, Avram Fried, Shweki, and that's how it started.
One of the big moves is you lie about the first person, just FYI.
Right.
You forget the next 10.
By the
and
way,
then the first
same
person
thing
comes
in
up.
movies.
For the record.
It's the same idea.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Just has to all work itself out at the end. And if it doesn't, he dropped out. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, totally.
And while you were doing
Your name is on the ballot over here. You're on the flyer. Like,
while you were
back out now if you want.
while you were doing like Jewish music videos, like in the back of your head or even in the front of your head, you're like, I'm getting to Hollywood. Like that's where I'm starting here, but like I'm gonna be a film producer. And
I wasn't necessarily thinking that, but every music video that I've done, at least I tried to. I didn't compromise on quality. So, the best lenses, cameras, angles, lighting. And
are you a perfectionist by nature?
I am a perfectionist, yeah. And I'm hard on myself, and that's why I don't give credits for if you're a producer in my film, you better earn that shit. It's not like, okay, here, I'm producer.
Like a lot of writers are called producers sometimes.
Yeah, it's not, there's executive producers and there are producers, but I'm trying not to compromise. So on that video, and then I went to Japan, a song called The Japan Song. And then I started working with Lipa Schmelzer on videos with him, which I initiated all of that. Hang Up the Phone, if you remember. Oh,
hang up the phone.
So I did a video, which all of them went viral. Mizrach. I started I'm happy to say that I would say if not one of the first to start the Jewish music video trend in our Jewish world on a higher level.
Right.
Like the Morty Shapiro Dancing in a Forest type.
No, so Morty Shapiro is the only one I haven't worked with, and I love Morty Shapiro.
But I'm saying his
voice.
genre of music videos that's very popular now kind of started with this.
Well, he's saying he put together real deal music videos in the 2012.
No, yeah.
Right, 2012, 13.
He's doing real shit.
We got, I would say, had definitely a hand in bringing people like Nissim Black to the world. That song Hashem Alech 2.0, I initiated and put them together, and all of those songs, all those videos, I've done, I think, 65 or 70 music videos, most of which went viral.
And Morty Shapiro lives nearby. We could go knock on his door if he lives in North Limerick.
It's my dream to knock on his door. So now is the time.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I very, very much relate to what you're saying in regards to like high quality perfectionism. Like, you seem like the type of person, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like you're very specific. You're a believer that you know talent when you see talent, and you're very specific about the talent that you want to bring on. Like, if you don't, is this accurate? That like
absolutely,
you're a critic, like in a good way. If you want to be very successful, like you feel like, okay, that guy has the skill. Like, this is a guy I want to work with, as opposed to like, everyone. It's like a lot of people are throwing out names. It's probably the best way to say it. And like, oh, he's amazing, and then you'll like watch his work, and you'll be like, nah, it's not. He doesn't have the precision that I'm looking for. That you?
Absolutely. And you know what? I got to tell you, like one of the first years that I started working on music videos, I've done this major music video in basically recreating World War II in Krakow. We shot it in Poland, in Krakow.
Okay.
It's a music video. It's called Rainbow in the Night. We brought cantor Yankee Lemmer. You know who he is.
Like Shulam Lemmer?
Shlomo his brother.
Okay.
Great cantor, beautiful voice. And we basically needed to recreate that whole scene, basically like a mini Schindler's List. And I was a very amateur director. Now, Poland is known to have very high standards of filmmakers. So they come to me. Sorry, it's not my story. I'm going backwards. So I was trying to raise money for that project. And I came to this Holocaust survivor, gazillionaire in the city. And he's looking at me like a mogul of some kind. I don't think he's alive anymore. And he looks at me like, what did you do in your life? Show me the movies you've done before I give you money. What talents do you have? I'm looking at him and said, I'll tell you what. I could tell you one thing that I do have. One thing. Passion. Take that. That's all I can bring to the table. And that's to answer your question, that's what I'm looking for. I get turned on and attracted to people who come to me with passion. Some people are very talented, but they don't do anything with it. People who are ambitious and passionate, those are the people that speak to me, and those are the people that I like to work with.
Right, for sure. But what about the people that are very ambitious but are not that talented and aren't self-aware enough to realize that they're not that talented? Let's just a concept like that.
That's a very good question.
I'll be honest. I like because
Right.
passion alone to me is not the trick. I know a lot of people that are extremely passionate about different things, and I almost, I want them to be.
Right.
I want to believe like, okay, you're going to be the perfect fit for whatever it is that I'm trying to do. But I'm like, my gut ain't telling me this one. Like I could smell it. I know it when I see it. You know, like.
Fine, I confess.
That's
yeah,
me, you know what
I unfortunately I don't have filters. I don't do it in a mean way, but I would go to that person and say, listen, I'm sorry to tell you this, but
He's Israeli. In the end of the day, he can say
you need to work on your skills, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
you probably get like cold emails all the time to get casted. And I'm saying from
Casted, writers, a lot of things, music.
I have to be honest, it's the one thing I absolutely hate doing. I hate telling people because I know what it's like to want to dream and want that success. When someone's super ambitious that has been trying their whole life to like get there, and you have the ability to help them, but it's not for them. Like it's not for you. Meaning like, and you have to tell them that. I have such a brutally difficult time. Like I just feel bad, and whenever that happens. So I suck at that. Maybe you could teach me. That's definitely something you could teach me. You could teach me a lot of things, I'm sure. But
Nah.
Listen,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers, guys.
I love this guy. This guy, by the way, we cannot drink together. It's a good thing I have coffee in my hand. I'll be hammered by the time I'm done
Listen,
with
Chabad, Russian,
hours.
Israeli, October
you.
7th.
Done.
Deadly combination.
I wanted to ask you a little. Cause you touched upon this. I didn't realize like when I looked you up, producer can mean a lot of things. It could be simply mean someone who just raises money and isn't like necessarily involved in the creative aspect of the movie. From what I understand,
Right.
Speaking to you for even 3 minutes, I understand like you are intimately involved with every aspect of your films, which means I assume the plot lines and storylines is something you've been passionate about. And my question is, I've looked into like some of your movies. I watch Menashe and things like that. They're fascinating to me as a Jew. But my question is like, is this the films that have uniquely Jewish themes, which all your films do, even if they're horror films, they're like rooted in Jewish horror. Is that like you saw this niche as like these are interesting stories and nobody's tapped it because there aren't so many filmmakers that grew up as Orthodox Jews and like you just thought it was interesting? Or is there like a mission that when you pitch to investors, like we are bringing Jewish culture to non-Jewish world, like we are combating stereotypes, anti-Semitism? Is there like a greater mission and purpose to these films? And be honest with me, if it's not that, if it's just like these are so interesting and no one touches it and I can make money off of it,
I found the niche.
is it? Which one is
It's
it?
definitely never a money thing. I'm being very honest. Look, you make money out of movies, obviously. There's a reason why Netflix and everything is flooded with content. Someone's making money out of this, right? Of course, there's money to be made, and thank God I'm making it from films. But this is not the reason why I choose projects. It's definitely with a mission. Every film is with a mission. Now, some people would be like, no, just give me a beautiful, great teen sex comedy with this star, and that star. Boom, combine it together, equals that, and that's it.
And that will make money, that project? If it has the
Possibly,
Sure.
yeah, if it has the right names, right? But then everybody's gonna watch it once, they're never gonna watch it again. I try to create cult classics. Now, I say that obviously cautiously because not everything that I do is like that. Some things are
More fun based and not as
more
meaning
fun based,
purpose-based.
right? But most of the films that I've been interacted with, absolutely. And each project is its own. Menashe, for example. I've been working with director Josh Weinstein on this. Who's
Josh Weinstein, isn't that the guy that's friends with Jeremy Piven?
Oh, I thought it was
From
Harvey
Ari
Weinstein's
Gold.
son.
No,
Or
that's
from
Harvey Weinstein, right?
No, who's the guy? Remember from Entourage? Back in the day. I want to get into Piven as well. We'll get to that in a
we'll
second.
get
but
to him, yeah.
Yeah, you were just saying. Do you remember when he takes the drink and he chucks it in his face?
I'm not a huge Entourage. We have to talk about
Kidding me?
Entourage.
There's a
But
famous clip where his name is Josh Weinstein in the movie. You could ask Jeremy Piven.
Really?
this.
Josh Weinstein? Not Harvey Weinstein.
No.
I'll let Josh.
In
I'll let Jeremy.
Entourage, and I don't remember every single last one of Entourage, but there's one famous scene in Entourage where Ari's the talent guy, right?
Right.
Whatever, and he has a competitor whose name is, pretty sure his name is Josh Weinstein.
That's
and he's
funny.
like, Ari trained him, but he's like way below Ari as far as like success wise. And he like steals one of Ari's clients, and Ari basically confronts him at like this like rager, and it's a dynamic scene. It's like a go-to Entourage scene. It's famous. Guy's drinking a cup of orange juice. He's like, okay, like hear me, and like he takes it from him and just like chucks it in his face. It's just like a very funny like. It's like if you go through all the highlights of Ari Gold, like you go on your
Right, yeah,
highlights,
yeah.
it's like right a bit, like smack, you know.
Nice.
Anyways, so yeah,
yeah,
just
so
funny
Josh
to mention
Weinstein,
his name.
Menashe.
Josh Weinstein, I mean, we first interacted with him on this fascinating short documentary that we did together for the New York Times and actually won a lot of awards. You ever heard of Soul Dryer?
No.
Soul Dryer is a fascinating man. He's a drummer. He has sunglasses, just like Bono from U2. And back when I knew him, he was 90 years old. At the age of 89, retired for 30 years as a plumber, he decided, and he's a Holocaust survivor from Krakow, he decided, I'm going to pursue, speaking of which, I'm going to pursue my childhood dreams from back before
The war?
Holocaust. He had a dream of becoming a musician before the war. And then the Holocaust happened, and he survived, came to America, settled in Florida, worked, retired. But I'm like, I'm not ready to die and go to a nursing home. I'm pursuing my dream now. Took all his savings, not a rich man. His wife was like, where are you going?
Not to call Dancing with the Stars.
Right, I'll be right back. He comes up with a drum set. Like, you crazy? I'm crazy. And he bought a drum and he opened a band called the Holocaust Survivor Band. We've done music videos together with him, with Gad Elbaz, Dudu Fisher, Lipa Schmelzer. Look it up, Soul Dryer, and the Holocaust Survivor Band. So we've done a short with Josh Weinstein. By the way, this past Hanukkah, he was lighting the menorah and drumming for Joe Biden in the White House.
Really?
He is going to be 100 years old, and he's kicking it. He has, and I'm revealing it here, so forgive me. I hope he's still alive after this.
I was about to say, write it down. We gotta get this guy on
He
the
has,
podcast.
oh my God,
ASAP.
you gotta get him. You gotta get him. Listen to this. This is true. He has two girlfriends. Two.
What happened to his wife?
One doesn't have, she died. One doesn't know about the other.
I hope they don't
I'm
watch
sorry I'm
Mislaibeled.
taking you out of the closet. Listen, you're 100. It's time.
That might be the funniest line in this level.
He loves
Are either of them
strawberry
hot
ice
Chabad
cream.
girls? Are either of them hot Chabad girls?
Oh, that's amazing.
And he is touring the world, and he's an amazing example. When you think you're like, oh, I'm getting old, I'm 70, like this guy's 100.
Yeah.
And he's kicking it. He's still drumming. He's a true inspiration. So that was like kind of my first collab with Josh Weinstein. We did this. And then he came to me with this idea, and I found him the cast, and I took it upon myself, Menashe Lustig. And this was the first film in Yiddish since the 30s. So that was, something new, something different. And that's how we started that trip.
And so, what was the mission of Menashe? Just to catch everyone up quickly, Menashe is this amazing story. I'm curious what it's based off of. Basically, this single dad in the Hasidic community that is like grappling with because his wife passed away, and the community wants to take his son away from him because he can't be raised in Bosnish, to be raised in a one-parent home. Okay. And
Is that a real thing, by the way, in general?
Unfortunately, it is.
That it really occurs?
Yeah, meaning they don't force you, but it's like they basically tell you that it doesn't make sense. And
Where do they want the kid to go? To a foster home? Like, where's it
I don't
better?
know, to go to like a foster
in
home.
the movie, he's
or
raised
an
by his
aunt,
brother-in-law.
or by there's a brother-in-law, there's a sister. There's always something,
Just
someone.
go to a two-parent home type of thing.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you see him like struggling in the movie. I love the movie. It was fascinating to me because there's so much like inside baseball in it. You see the struggle with him is he really feels like this allegiance to the Rebbe and the lifestyle, and sometimes you even see him defending it to other people within the community that are like, oh, the Rebbe's crazy or whatever. And at the other extreme, he like doesn't understand things, and he's like, why does the Rebbe have to be involved in this? And he like keeps on like going back between those two things. It's like an internal struggle.
So surprisingly, it is based on a true story. So the main actor, Menashe, which his name is Menashe Lustig, was Lipa's brother-in-law.
The actor Menashe Lustig plays himself in the movie.
Plays himself in the movie, and that's his story. He's a widow with one child.
Oh, wow. Really? I was telling Label, because I watched it, something so fascinating to me about the movie. Have you ever read the book Save the Cat about like screenwriting?
No.
Whatever, not so important. But there's like a formula to screenwriting.
You're obviously not so good at your job.
No, I know.
He read this,
I know.
No, I the reason someone actually just introduced it to me. The reason I'm mentioning it is because one of what they say the key ingredients to any sort of script writing is making that main character someone that like you could fall in love with, that's enigmatic, and like you just want to be like Ari Gold is a person you want to be a part of his life. Like any The Rock movie, any like main character, Tom Cruise, these are all personalities that are like we want to be a part of. Like in the first scene of the movie, you're like, I want to follow this guy, right? Harvey Specter in Suits.
Yeah.
This guy Menashe, he is a loser of all losers. I have to say, he is.
He's a real human being we're talking about here.
No, the movie. The movie
he
highlights
heard it
it.
all.
I'm joking.
He's
He
a
heard it all.
nebuch.
Yeah.
He's a lo yatzach, and somehow this is credit to you, I guess. You are in love with this character throughout
Because
the movie.
he's relatable. You know, the best compliment I got, we actually premiered this film at Sundance 7 years ago. And I was there, and the funny thing is, he never went, he's from New Square, works at the cash register, just like in the movie.
In the supermarket.
And guess what? He still does.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
Wow.
And he's in New Square. Check him out in your local supermarket. And he still does acting gigs, and he's gonna do some acting.
I saw he was in one of your
some
other
more acting.
movies.
Yeah, and he's gonna be even in more. But nevertheless, he's still, why not? I'm gonna keep my little gig here.
I love that.
And he never went to movie theaters in his life. He never watched movies. The first time he watched a movie on the big screen was his own movie.
Wow.
And I was sitting next to him, and then we had the Q&A after, and this lady got up and she said, you know, from the Midwest, and she was like, I never met any Hasidic Jews in my life, but I got to tell you, I was bawling. I loved it because I felt like he could be my father. He could be my brother. This is me. It's relatable. And that's the answer. It's relatable. Whether it's Ari Gold or Menashe Lustig, people that, someone like that, who talks like that, who has a little body language, the nuances, the little tweaks, goes through the hardships. So yeah.
Did he get his son back in the end? Like in real life, I'm saying.
In real life, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's well, I got to tell
That's
you.
crazy. Don't get me started. We're not getting into what's there to say? It's crazy.
I just wanted to ask you about, there's some, I was trying to tell you about this before actually. There's so many parts in the movie that I just like laugh at because of how relatable they are, but like so specific to like Orthodox Jews. Amazon Prime, which is translates all the Yiddish into subtitles, and you can see when they're mistranslating something culturally, right? So there's one point where he's yelling at his brother-in-law and he says, "Stop hacking me a chinik,"
right?
Which, as me and you know, means stop driving me crazy. Right. Amazon Prime subtitles translated, "Stop banging on my teacups."
Oh, I love that.
It's actually very funny.
I'm like, the world does not know what's going on in this scene.
Okay, I have 3 questions. We're gonna start with the first one. I don't like to be overwhelming. I'm told sometimes I can be very overwhelming, so not to scare you. Okay, first question number 1 is, could you just describe, every artist has their struggle with finances when they're trying to get off the ground. You alluded to it in the very, very beginning. Obviously, given that, like, taking that risk, and it's seemingly basically every artist goes through this exact one. I want to hear from you what your feelings were, how that played out for yourself, and what you would suggest that, let's say, someone else is in that scenario right now.
I mean, for me, I realized that you don't make money on Jewish music videos.
Right.
Basically, if you want to make films, if you want to make money, you got to start making movies and content. Basically, that's where the money is. And in the film industry, there's room for everyone to make money. A production assistant, a water girl, water boy, everybody. There's room for you. And more than that, there are unions that protect your rights right and left. You know, whether you're a writer or an actor, especially if you're an actor and writer, or a director or producer if you're in the union.
Oh, I didn't
Right?
understand. I used to apply to all these gigs on like backstage. Like I used to want to get
Right.
in like the movies and stuff, and they would
And
always
they
say
ask you, are you SAG or you're not, right?
they would say like non-union union. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking
Right.
about. I'm just like trying to get.
If
in
you're a
the
union,
Right,
you know
non-union.
you're getting, if you're being flown out, you get business. Anything else, you get your pension plan, you get your, you know, social security, whatever that is. And now they had the strike, they were still good. They were still getting their union paycheck because of that.
the writer's strike.
But I'm talking about more, if you want to make real money,
So
Yeah,
you
you gotta
started by
produce
doing
it.
what? By just getting a job somewhere in this.
by getting a job, by knocking on doors, calling people like artists and basically saying, hey, do you need a music video? I'll make it for you. Here's what I've done. And they know who I am. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, well, we don't really have money. So what I did was go to others and like, do you want to sponsor a music video? I'll put your name on it. Yeah, no, and that's, you know, I did a music video with God Elbows in Bradbury. I did a music video, you know, we did, for example, Yalili and 8 Day and the Pomegranate, you know.
Oh, so Pomegranate sponsored that.
Of course, all of
in
these
their
places partner. Like
Yeah.
Hang Up the Phone. We did it in another electronic store that was owned by Hasidic Jews, and so on and so forth. Until I realized, why am I looking for sponsors? If I start bringing investors to the fold and actually giving them back their money with interest, now I'm on the roll, and that's what we did.
Right. So my question, fine, but getting off the ground, your first step, just like pay your bills. Well, you said your wife was working, so that was able to keep you.
My wife was not working.
Okay, well then, fair enough. How did you pay your rent the
Right.
first month?
I did.
Not to get too personal.
I'm saying like that's the point I'm asking.
Listen,
That's
I'm not embarrassed to say I was broke.
Yeah,
In the
everyone is when
beginning,
they
I
start.
was, yeah, and I was, but nothing moved me away from my mission.
Right.
I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm not going back to whatever I was doing. I love being independent. I need to be independent
So with you, yeah.
and actually pursue it. It wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But you know,
It comes with tremendous
a lot
sacrifice.
a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah. Okay, fine. That was my first question. My second question is, how do you think the film industry, the world has obviously progressed significantly in, you know, over the last 15 years with how media is distributed, etc. Right? Streaming platforms aren't the thing anymore. VHS does not exist than it did 20 years ago. How has that impacted, I guess, the industry overall and your process of how you've went along?
Right. So I could tell you it's twofold. Basically, when it comes to music, you know, music can be music. Obviously, we all know that took a hit because MP3s. No one cares about CDs. No one cares about that. And even music videos. Now, every kid with an iPhone, 15 or 14, can
Can be famous.
can do amazing, beautiful footage, and do a whole music video and edit it on himself, and he's got it. And it's always evolving. You always got to be with your finger on the pulse. And never say, "Oh, what am I going to do now? Stop." When Ubers came out, like, no, I'm just used to the regular taxi. But look, you know, it's so much more convenient. So now there's a whole fight with the industry and unions against AI, for example. We don't need writers anymore. AI put it on ChatGPT and everything's going to go automatically. So obviously we always have to be with the finger on the pulse and see how we can evolve. But right now, and that hasn't changed much, when I said I'm an ambassador or try to be an ambassador, it's mainly on social media, like you guys are. And I really respect what you guys are doing because this is where it really matters because everyone goes on social media to check out everything. So creating content on social media, that's where I like respect. And with all the respect to the feature films that I do, I ain't no fool. I know that the youth out there, they're not going to sit and watch a 2-hour movie.
Correct.
It's a very short attention span.
Not for sure, not. But
I mean,
blockbuster.
yeah, I mean, exactly. It's it's Marvel, it's whatever. And I hope I'm wrong, but I know the crowd. So it's got to be, so I'm kind of evolving right now into, first of all, shorter episodes, you know, just TV series.
Yeah.
Where everything is there just shorter and powerful
minutes, yeah.
and even shorter than that. So
Like real
Again,
shorts, like 12
like real shorts.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there was this platform, right? What's the name of that? That they tried to do that and they went bankrupt.
I'm not sure.
They put in like $1 billion into it. The whole like Netflix, but only for shorts, basically.
Okay, I'm not.
You know what
yeah.
I'm talking about? With, by David. Forgot the name.
Let's look it up. What's
Yeah,
the name?
yeah. They had original content with the biggest stars in the world,
Then
literally.
why would it have went bust? Why did it go bust?
And all their movies were basically horizontal
Okay.
for that reason, because it was only made to be shown on a phone. You can't watch that platform on your big screen,
Landscape, yeah.
just on your phone. But I don't know, it just didn't hold ground for some reason. But in any case, yeah, it's all about creating content that actually speaks.
So you were saying obviously that now in order to make money you got to stop doing music videos, you got to put out films. Yeah, that makes sense. My question though is, are all those? Can you make? Are your films first of all? Your films, I suppose, are supposed to be for the non-Jewish world. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And the films you're creating, if it's not a blockbuster, like I obviously, right, before I did research, I didn't know the movie Menashe. I would assume that at this moment the average person doesn't know the movie Menashe. How are you making money on that film? Right.
As an investor or as a producer?
Both.
Both.
Okay, so basically, look, yeah, a film like
I mean, Menashe was
Menashe-
for the image for it was for non-Jews. It wasn't like supposed to be targeting a Jewish
Absolutely.
audience.
Everything I do is for non-Jews, and it's also for Jews, also for non-Jews.
Right. No, I get that. So my question is, if a movie is not a real hit, so to speak, like famous hit, right?
Right.
How does it make money? Where's the money? Like someone buys
It
the
depends.
rights.
Some movies don't make money. You're right.
Okay.
But it's all a matter of learning the pattern of making sure that the budget is low enough where the investors can be recouped and also make some money on it. So if you put, $30 million in a movie and nobody's going to watch the movie, it's going to tank and everyone lost their pants. So what's the point? So a movie like Menashe, which is, I mean, I could tell you, it was around $500,000. That's it. That
whole
was the
thing.
budget. The whole thing was $500,000 and made about $4 million in box office.
Wow.
So that makes money. But when you have a movie that costs $5 million to make, obviously that's different.
So that's. I assume this is like, it's a real business, obviously, that goes without saying, but like, are you the one responsible for raising the money and like the financial pro forma of this and how you're going to recoup the money and your numbers?
Right. So that goes back to your question, basically. What is a producer? Is he someone that raises money? Is he someone creative? I wear both hats because I like to be controlling the asset as much as I can. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I do that all the time. There's another film, actually, that's coming out soon. Tin Soldier. I'm one of the producers, but not the lead producers.
That's the one with like De Niro and Scott Eastwood and
Yes, and Jamie Foxx and right.
yeah,
exactly.
I saw a bunch of A-listers there. I was very curious.
It's
about
crazy, yeah. And I've been chilling with Jamie Foxx in Greece, and it was like,
that. Who was the first one you lied to get that guy on? Who did you say was on it?
Doesn't give up his secrets. How's he feeling?
And that's
he
like
had a problem with his eyes
that
recently.
was something like that. Yeah, he got a stroke. This was his last movie before the stroke.
Oh, is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
And hopefully this film should be coming out in a couple of months from now.
What's that film about?
So this is like it's like a drama about this veteran who actually opens a cult of people that surround him, and he performs miracles almost like Jesus to his followers, and he walks on water and stuff like that, and people are obsessed with him, and that's Jamie Foxx.
Is this your first totally not Jewish project?
Absolutely.
That has nothing to do.
My first, that was my first, but then I already did another two. But yeah, that was
the first one you started.
And this is my first real big budget adventure, $50 million
Wow.
into that project.
And you raised all that money?
No, absolutely not. That's what I'm saying.
So that's what I'm saying. Are you responsible? Who are the investors coming to? What's the name of the person, the title of the person that the investors come to if the movie goes bust? And now you're out 30 mil.
Producers.
So
To the producer, yes.
So that would be-
They're coming to the producer. They would come to me.
But you-
If I am the lead producer, if I'm the signatory and lead producer, they would come to me and have my ass on this.
And you've taken that responsibility previously in many other movies.
I've taken responsibility. I've made money back to the investors, so I'm confident on my. Now, look, and I'm saying that again cautiously because There's always risk in everything, in
course.
every investment, right? But you try to minimize the risks as much as you can by the script is good, the names are good, Jeremy Piven, this, that, the budget, trying to maintain budget sometimes
Changes.
changes.
That's what I was gonna say. How difficult is it to keep a project on budget, like in anything? It's like you build a house. They say it's gonna cost $1 million. Everyone
Thank
knows.
you.
It's gotta-
Exactly.
a lot
It's
to it.
hard. It's
I actually
hard.
wanted to ask about that specifically because I don't remember where I saw this, but one of your movies, I think the horror movie, The Vigil,
Yeah.
I heard it was like filmed in your house or someone's house specifically.
You've done very, very good research.
I try to have good conversations. That was like someone involved in the movie was in their house.
Yeah, that was my house. Yeah, I bought a house, and the first thing that I come into the house, I'm told by the one that sold it to me, like, so the lady who lived here died here 3 weeks ago, and they found her dead in the living room, and it looked like a horror house. Let me tell you, there was like spider webs, and I'm like,
Why did you buy this place?
because I
Short
know,
sale, obviously.
right, exactly. And
No, but
I was
something's-
like, I'm gutting this place down, but I'm like, this is perfect for this horror film.
Right.
So in between you buying the house and moving in, you're like, we're
Bought
gonna
the
do a movie
house
here?
exactly, and I'm like,
Put it in
I'm
someone
not renovating just yet. I am using this house, and when you see it, I'm like, oh my god, this is a perfect horror house indeed.
Really?
And
This guy, his whole house was a write-off.
I know, literally, by the way. It's not a joke. Trust me, I'm sure he pulled some moves there. I hope
absolutely,
he did.
yeah.
Rightfully so.
And raise the value because the whole block right now is in this movie. It's like, oh my god, right there. Yeah.
That's great. So,
You were talking about budget. Sorry, I cut
yeah,
you
so
off.
you were saying, as far as the budget, so what was the biggest budget you've handled, if you don't mind me asking?
This one with De Niro.
I'm saying that you had sole responsibility.
Oh, responsibility. Probably this one with Jeremy.
What's this one?
The performance with Jeremy Piven.
Oh, that one. Okay, fine.
That's the World War II video.
The pre-World War II, 1937. Yeah.
So, and how do you evaluate, let's say, comps? Like, are you familiar? I don't know if they use that word. Comps,
They don't
like
use that
what's-
word, but
Like in real estate, it's like, okay, this
Right.
property is this. What could I, based on trying to figure out how the asset's going to perform?
Right.
You look at everything that's similar to it that would be around it, etc.
Right.
Comparables is what it's short for.
so no, it's called comps. It's basically you have people in the industry who give you sales comps. Basically, it goes by territories. Each territory is like countries, basically.
Like a geographical territory.
Geographical. So it goes by Spain, Italy, so Europe is broken down, India, South America, Asia. All of that is broken down, and then you have the US and Canada, which is domestic. And basically, all of that is, you get the sales comp, and like, okay, we can sell it here for this amount, this amount, and you look at the numbers, and you're like, okay, so that's that. And then you have VODs, every boat, plane, and hotel. Then recently you have NFTs. Not every movie, but some of them. Then you have, other
So
things.
many avenues.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you know what the hell is going on.
No, you know
The
what's going
numbers have
on.
to be-
And the beauty about films is, and I find it from the other films that I've done, you get royalties for the rest of your life. Because whatever, even when you sell it, quote unquote, to Netflix, it doesn't mean you sell it indefinitely. You lease it to them
To a time.
for a certain time. And then you get it back. And now you can do something else
That's
with it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like passive income. It just keeps on rolling.
Exactly.
That's great.
So you're
It's like-
so some of your films you're still like making royalties
Yeah.
on every. Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I get a check. I still get checks. Yeah.
that's awesome. No other way to say it.
And another thing, there's a collection account, right? So all the money, let's say I'm selling this movie to Netflix, they don't come and give me a check to me, to my production company, to my LLC. That never is the case. There's an international collection account. It's called CAMA, CAMA, or Vintage House. There are two of them, and basically they have the waterfall. They have all the contracts of all the investors. They've done their due diligence, knowing exactly, okay, so are they pari passu? Who's first? Who's second? Who's third? They're the ones doing it. So they're giving them the check, and they're the ones distributing the income.
What's
That's
the
how it
advantage to that? You're saying you're bringing that up for a reason.
because the investors are more relaxed. It's not like there's going to be favoritism about who's going to get first, second. Everything is very legal.
Right.
You know, you don't joke around.
I would assume it has to be. I mean,
Yeah.
This is the same thing as any. I mean, this is real estate. This is a legit business. There's no
Correct.
in-betweens. Got it. So, first of all, so where did you get to know Piven? That's where I'm trying to just figure out this part out.
Oh no, I feel like we're never gonna get to your third question. But yeah, let's.
No, it's fine.
Piven, okay, so I get this call about 3 years ago. This was right before the elections. And then I get this call basically from Jeremy Piven. And first he texted me, and then he's like, I heard, so someone told him, based on the other stuff that I've done, that I am this big Jewish producer. So he doesn't know Jewish producer. He thinks I'm a Jewish producer,
It's like Spielberg, Finkelman, same thing.
Yeah, it's like he didn't bother to Google me. He's like, Jewish producer, big Jewish producer, great. Of course he's Jewish, he's a producer, and let's do it. He calls me up and pitches me his idea about the performance. And I get pitches all the time, and I'm like...
Which, if in like if in a sentence you could describe the performance, just because it's not out yet.
Of course. It's a Jewish tap dancer in the 30s from New York who gets invited with his troupe to do a performance in Berlin and performs literally in front of Hitler himself.
Wow. Like the Jesse Owens of tap dancing.
Pretty much. And they love him so much, and they offer him the career he always wanted. Wow. And that's when really the story starts.
Does he know he's Jewish or no?
They don't know he's Jewish, but he knows he's Jewish. And that's really the question that makes it so relatable and timely right now is how far would you go for your career?
Right.
On the expense of your identity and who you are. Something which, again, now is as timely as possible.
It's a good thing it's dropping now. It's very powerful.
Exactly.
Wow.
Now, it's not a Holocaust movie at all. It's a cabaret. By the way, it's written by, so it's based on a short story by Arthur Miller.
Oh, like Death of a Salesman.
Death of a Salesman, The Crucible, Room with a View, married to Marilyn Monroe, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
And his daughter, Rebecca Miller, married to three-time Academy Award-winning actor Daniel Day-Lewis, sold the rights to the story to Jeremy about 12 years ago.
Why was Jeremy so interested in this?
So Jeremy's mom read that story at The New Yorker, in The New Yorker.
Like the magazine.
Reading a magazine, told Jeremy about it. Jeremy, for some reason, fell in love with it. I guess he had an obsession with tap dancing all his life and decided, I'm doing this. Enrolled himself in a tap dancing school and studied tap dancing for 10 years for this role.
You're ruining all our images of Ari Golding right now.
Exactly.
He's a tap dancer. Like, I'm not going to fall asleep tonight.
It's like finding out Matt Bomber's gay. Fuck. Yeah.
And by the way, the script is hilarious. It's funny. It's witty. It's good. It's not like
so you're saying you pitched you on it, and you get pitched all the time, but this was...
Something about it was different, and I'll tell you why. Because this is not a Holocaust movie where, people with fake Polish accents are like, oh, the Nazis are coming, we should... And God bless them. It's that entire era told basically through the POV of Americans who are coming to Berlin. And that's what really that's what I liked about the story. So I was like, you know what? Give me a day or two to think about it, and I'll get back to you. And he was pitching it for years.
Did you know who he was?
Yeah, of course I knew who he was. I knew who he was, and I was like,
Were
okay.
you swayed to take, because of the fact he's obviously had a very successful career?
Yeah, obviously it definitely helped. Definitely helped that he's famous and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that I need to bring in the money and commit to that.
Right, of course.
So I made a few phone calls, spoke to a friend of mine, came back to him like, I'm in, I'm doing it. He's like, what? Are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure, I'm doing it. And we've had our adventures, let me tell you.
In what sense? Hold on, in what sense?
Not even get missed. I mean, I could tell you, in a very positive way. But I mean, the budget kept on switching and changing, and we shot this in Slovakia. In Slovakia, this was exactly 2 years ago, two and a half years ago, during COVID. So we had shutdowns, obviously, but nevertheless, we shot this. And, the financial stress was enormous because the budget kept on switching on set, not just before, on set.
Why?
Because, let's just say we had our misunderstandings with the local production company who understood from the director that all of a sudden we need to have a whole scene of, I'm talking about the 30s, so it's periods, right? So picture cars and everything else. And I'm like, why do we need picture cars?
So the budget got
we
lower.
could hire.
Okay.
And that means let me just tell you this. Right. At some point, I was told, and I'm just revealing it here, who cares? And I was told literally by production, I'm like, okay, this is already this is in the middle of the set, right? Everyone, it's not just Jeremy Piven, it's Robert Carlyle, it's, I don't know if you know, Adam Garcia and Lara Wolf and many others. And what's her name? Suzanne Shepard. That was her last movie. She actually just died recently. She was Carmela Soprano's mom in the entire show of Sopranos.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So this was her. I actually brought her on
Carmela
this.
Soprano was who in real life? What's her name?
Tony Soprano's wife. Oh,
Carmela's Tony's wife.
You know, Tony's wife.
Got it,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is the entire cast is there, and they come to me and tell me, okay, so you brought a few $1 million for now, and we have a whole plan, but if you don't bring in a few days from now, if we don't get a wire of $1.2 million, we're shutting down the film.
and how much money are you in for at this point?
I'm already probably
7 figures, right?
yeah, a couple of million. I mean, maybe 2 or 3.
And they're keeping
I'm
that.
not gonna
That's
get
done
into
with
those
already,
details,
isn't
And
but
that money's spent.
that money's spent. That money is spent. And I'm like, what am I doing right now? And I remember myself sitting in my car, and it's on me. And there's 200 people behind the camera on set, from cast and crew and everyone. And I'm like, okay. And this is what I completely turned into a Breslover. And I had my, it's Bodadus. And I'm sitting there, and I'm literally talking to God like a schizophrenic. And I'm like, God, please. And I'm talking to him, lo and behold, the miracle happened. And this is something I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life, because I promised God that I'm not going to forget this. I'm not going to say how and what, but $1.2 million came in.
Wow.
A day later. So I'm not going into details from who. Let's just say, a lot of interesting miracles happen.
And
Wow.
like there's 7 pairs of tzitzis under there right now.
So what's your relationship with Jeremy's like? You're very close with him?
I'm very close with them.
But before we get into that, just a quick question. What happens when an actor on a movie dies? Like let's say you need to reshoot scenes and now she's dead.
Okay, so that's my next story. And I'm giving you a lot of scoops here. We're on set, and this is a very intense scene in the performance, as you'll see, where the Nazis are beating up Jeremy's character. Jeremy's character is Harold May, an American tap dancer. I'm just not going to get into the details, but he was not supposed to do that scene. We had a double who was supposed to do it, but Jeremy was like, no, I want to feel it. He's a method actor. By the way, he's one of the best actors I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
you haven't seen his acting yet till you watch that movie. He really put, and I mean literally put his heart and soul into that role, worked for years on that. And he was like, no, forget the double. I'm doing it. All right. You sure? Yeah. All right. And then he's doing it. And it's like a fight scene. And he's good. He's so good. He's even groaning with pain. But then it's like, oh, fuck. This is not good. Before we know it, boom, he's unconscious.
Legit unconscious.
Legit. Broke 8 ribs, fractured his lungs. They took him out on a stretcher.
Jeremy?
When
did this
he
happen?
was on a month in a hospital. So you asked me that question. We needed to come back for a reshoot for this movie. It's crazy.
Time out. He was in an actual fight. Like, what was the actual scene? I'm confused.
It wasn't. It was a scene.
Right.
Fights. The
Why can
Nazis are
they couldn't
beating
do
him
like
up.
play fighting?
Nazis.
I'm saying they don't do play fighting. This was like a.
But that was what you were saying. They wanted to get a double so they could make it look more realistic and
More
beat
realistic
the shit out of
and
him.
knowing
actually.
how to fall. Something about he didn't fall right or whatever that is. He literally broke 8 ribs.
Oh my god. They say that there's like who's it, Jackie Chan? Like certain like famous people have really hurt themselves out. Goes without saying.
So you have the
He hurt himself to that degree.
to that degree. Now, the beauty about it is that scene made it into the film. So when you watch that scene and you see him being beaten up and screaming from pain,
It's so real.
you're gonna be like, oh no, this is real. Every time I watch this film, and I watch it dozens of times, obviously, right, for post-production, and the last time I watched it was in Palm Springs, I get choked up on my tears because I know how real this is. This is real pain.
He's like a victim of his own success because you didn't realize he wasn't acting because it could have been.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's wild.
Crazy.
What a story.
Okay, so we were talking about like your entry into Hollywood, et cetera, and like what your personal goals, like in terms of being an ambassador for Jewish culture, Jewish ideas. I've been wanting to ask someone in your shoes this because I've had conversations with people like kind of the other way, the people who started in Hollywood and then became religious afterwards. I'm thinking of one specific conversation. I'm not going to say his name, but a writer that's been on major Hollywood projects, like to the point that if I said the project, you would know exactly who I'm talking about. And he spent a lot of time talking to me about how he doesn't let his kids consume anything out of Hollywood, not from a religious perspective at all. Like my parents are probably way more religious than him, and I was allowed to watch certain movies if there wasn't cursing and girls and stuff like that. As you know, storytelling is a way to teach someone values without telling them you're teaching them those values. Like there's a famous quote: if you want to get someone to believe something that they don't believe, tell it to them in a story. I'm curious where you stand on like the general values of Hollywood. Is that something you let your kids be exposed to? Is it something that you agree is like for the most part like negative messaging?
So first, I got to tell you that those parents who think that they're going to, not let their kids be exposed to anything out there and get away with it, they're wrong. Because kids are smarter than us. And every tree is going to be Wi-Fi'd. You're going to be exposed very soon to any content. So at least let's make sure that the content that is there is the right content. And I remember, back when they had in Citi Field, they spent millions of dollars, the Haredi world, and they had a whole protest of rabbis and people against the internet.
Yeah.
That's Sifa.
That's the famous
Yeah,
thing,
Sifa.
Waste of time, yeah.
And I'm like, why? And I have zero respect to these rabbis who did this. Put all that money into actually creating content because they're going to be on it anyway. Might as well just
Creating
have
healthy
something.
content.
And whether it's this, where it's that, and I'm again, don't get me even started. I'm that industry and that world of the lack of sex education, for example, in schools
Right.
and so on and so forth. But that's a whole different topic,
But
obviously.
it sounds like you agree with the premise and the problem that the content out there is very harmful in like a fundamental way.
But you're there to combat it effectively.
I'm here to combat it for sure. No, it's definitely it's harmful. It's definitely harmful but social media is also even more harmful, obviously, right? Because when you look on Instagram and TikTok, and all you see is like, look at these kids and the jets and the planes and the makeup and the girls and everyone looks super hot and sexy and fit, and you think that this is what the world is
watched
about.
The girls dance. I like their dance moves. Like I think their dancing is
No,
on point.
I love the dance moves.
I'm just looking for the
I hear you.
Chabad chicks. I don't even care about the dancing. I'm looking at Simcha dancing. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, it's just about. It's not even. I wouldn't use the word combat. It's just a word of balance. Just have something which really still speaks to your animal soul, the animal instincts, whatever that is. Have a beautiful girl. Like I was always against, and I was fighting and I lost a lot of gigs, by the way, on that. I had Hasidic artists come to me and say, I want to do a music video, but no women. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I don't believe in a world where there's no women exist. And I don't believe in a world where if you think that if you see a woman and she's sneeze and she's modestly dressed, you're going to start drooling and thinking about her. You're raising a generation of pedophiles here, if that's what you're
Start
thinking.
again. You don't think, say the last sentence, you don't think that...
I don't think that having a woman in a video is going to give me quote unquote bad thoughts.
Right. I mean,
Right?
I assume you would agree it depends how the person's dressed. Right? The concept.
Not even. I'm a little bit radical on that, and that's why I say I'm a little that.
Okay.
I think that obviously, I mean, I'm not talking about porn videos and stuff like that. That's obviously something which is a problem in itself, and I'm sure you guys had your podcasts on those topics. That's something against the adults suffer from that. I'm talking about, in general, just to see something. I'm not talking about radical immodesty, but a woman wearing pants. I remember I got slack. One of my first music videos was in Lipa Schmelzer's video, a Hanukkah video, and the girl in it had short sleeves. And he was dancing, not with her, he was dancing in the video. And the headline was, Lipa Schmelzer dances with immodest women in his videos.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa.
Does that ever happen the other way? And I hope not to get too personal, but like, are there lines you won't cross the other way where like you're dealing with Hollywood actors and producers and they want to do kind of a graphic sex scene and you're like, sorry, this isn't something
It's a very
I'll do.
fair question.
Well, I guess start like
Right.
Are you nervous? Like, if like, will you not do a sex scene because your kids will see it? And like, Abba made this video. Is that something?
Here's the thing, and I may sound extremely radical, and I'm sorry whoever's hearing this and listening to it and pointing me out. I don't see anything wrong with the sex scene. I think that if it's done well, a sex scene is actually a beautiful scene. Let's see a sex scene. Let's learn how we make love here.
I agree with you 100%.
Right? No, and I mean it. I don't. No, but I don't mean it as a sleazy, manly. They're like, but I mean it like, again, obviously, everything has to be. And I'm speaking as a dad myself. Obviously, I have kids, and everything has to be controlled in a certain way. And there's a reason why nudity is rated R. I get that. I think there's much more damage when there's violence and profanity and rape and all that, and that's okay. We don't mind our kids watching an action film, a Marvel action film where the character just slices people to death left and right. That's okay. But seeing a beautiful woman
As long as it's
make
not Wonder
love
Woman.
make love with someone, oi, don't look. Why not? Why not look?
Okay, can I push back a little? I just like to
Yes,
get
please.
deeper a little bit because it's something I wonder, and I think what you're saying is true and beautiful, but unfortunately, at least my exposure to TV and movies, which is pretty vast, the sex scenes in Hollywood are almost exclusively like not between a person and their spouse. They're affairs. Like they'll never shoot a scene with just like a couple that's been married for 20 years making love because it's not hot. It doesn't fit a plot. Like it's always an affair with someone else. So we're kind of educating a whole generation of people that romance and passion and love only exists in like illicit relationships. in a way.
Fine. Listen, I'm not saying it's perfect, and obviously, I mean,
Talking conceptually,
Right,
No,
but
for sure. Look,
does it ever
literature,
happen?
literature is absolutely, it's based on what you're saying now. It's the forbidden fruit, if you will. It's all about that. That's what really gets me going and excited. That's what I want to watch. That's what I want to see, whatever that is. But here's the other thing. The problem is that the other way around is when you are, and again, you could go extreme. I'm not talking about that for sure. And I'm not here to teach the youth that it's good to have an affair and it's good to cheat on your wife or husband. But at the same time, speaking of the concept of the forbidden fruit, if everything is a forbidden fruit, then you could, that's what happens sometimes in our world, in the yeshiva world, which the more extreme it is, the more the forbidden fruit starts to be young boys because, hey, this is so vetoed. Let me see what else is happening here, and so on and so forth, and the whole take on homosexuality and so on and so forth. And I'm completely going off the topic here,
No,
so excuse me.
go as far off topic as you want. I don't have a problem.
For me, it's it all has to do with everything about what kind of back to your question. Would I do a sex scene?
Or is there any level that you won't do? Have you ever said no?
No, so it's questionable. Obviously, because I am married, obviously, so. At the end of the day, I got to give a report to my wife. She will definitely not be happy if I direct or even produce a very steamy sex scene, which, you were there in that room when this happened. No spouse in the world is going to feel happy about that. It could have been worse, obviously, as an actor. For the name of art, you could make love with your partner. And I'm like, no, that wasn't me. It was my character. But at the end, those two bodies went and did.
Do you buy that, by the way? Like, because actors do say that it's like a doctor looking at a body.
I don't buy that because at the end of the day, the better of an actor you are, the more in tune you are with your feelings and emotions. Right. So there has to be real emotion. And I'm speaking to actors, that's what happens.
Like Leo and Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street, you're saying wasn't his character. You're saying he wasn't able to separate the fact that he was.
It's like
definitely not.
Are
you sure?
I mean, there's a phenomenon in Hollywood where people who do these scenes together end up falling in love, like achara pulos nimshachos halvavos, in a way.
Yeah.
After the actions fall in the heart.
It's a very sleazy world. I kid you not. I mean, I definitely don't recommend it to the fainted heart. It's not an easy world to be in, and you got to be very strong-minded in every sense of the way. And just know your mission. I mean, you could fall into that trap in any industry, whether you're a doctor working and you have all these female interns,
right?
Kissing up to you, or you're a producer or a director or an actor, whatever that is.
What's so interesting? I always listen to these conversations we have. We've had these obviously in some format, other times on other podcasts. And I feel like I come a little bit from the interesting space where, while I of course agree with you, let's say with the Lipa Schmelzer video example and just the extremism on
Right.
the side of, we can't have women in, any newspapers or anything.
Jeremy Piven. Can I
Who's
just take
that?
this
Who's
real
Jeremy
quick?
As long as he says hello to me.
What other podcast do you get this on?
You got him on?
Once we get this movie sold, that Daniel and I have been grinding on, I'd love to come on your podcast.
Yeah, that honestly, that would be a dream come true.
If you want to do a premiere with an Orthodox Jewish audience, you tell me how many people you need, and and Mislaibeled, we'll make it happen. Dead serious.
Oh, okay. That would be amazing. Listen, I'm on the road. I'm about to get back on the road, and I'll see you guys very soon.
God willing. Yeah. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. Man.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
How much of your job is like ego managing?
Yeah, I'm glad you got a little taste of this. A lot of it. Meaning the amount of patience and nerves that you need to deal with some of the egos is insane. And I mean it in a good way. Meaning you're dealing with people, investors on the one hand, who, pound you. No, when am I getting my ROI? And you're dealing with actors, dealing with directors, dealing with creatives.
Dealing with very successful people from every single aspect. If your movie's going to be successful, you need high worth investors. You need high level actors. I mean, every person that's involved
Also,
in
the
the project.
type of person
an ego.
that
Absolutely.
the type of character that like goes into a successful actor is only one type of person. And it's going to be someone that believes in what they do and they admire the highway.
No, but also the people he's having on are real people. So like these are people that have been successful. Jeremy Piven is not a joke of like this guy was the number one, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
again, he's not like anyone. Everyone knows who Jeremy. So
You need to have you develop very rough skin in the process.
it's interesting because I actually think you're. I actually think that like your demeanor is so perfect.
So calm.
Oh my god.
I was.
I'm
I was
like
shocked.
yeah, I like in general, yeah. I'm just saying the way you just your zenness. Were you always this zen?
It's a good question, but I try. I work on it. It's definitely comes with the territory. Meaning,
Do
it's
you
like
meditate daily?
I do meditate, and you know what it is? I put on tefillin. I put on tefillin,
Every day.
and every day I put on tefillin every day, and that's my meditation, my connection and talk with God, literally. But obviously, I also exercise. Every other day, and when that helps, that's actually meditation for me. So, the heavy lifting and the breathing and that, it's like just your brain flows.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can we talk a little bit about the religious evolution
Yes.
for yourself? Like I know I when we were talking and I was messaging you, I said, I've been a big fan of, your religious journey. I've followed, which meaning I've seen it. I don't know exactly what's happening, but you responded to me and you wrote, I'm religious in my own way or something like that. And I wrote back, which is the truth, aren't we all? Which is really the facts.
In Hebrew, they have the term they have datlash and datlaf, right?
Datlash and datlaf.
Yeah, datlash is dati l'shavar, and datlaf is dati l'famim.
For the people that don't know what you're talking about, like myself, could you explain?
So when we have the term off the derech in America,
Yeah.
right? So in Israel they call it datlash. It means dati l'shavar, formerly religious. I coined a different one at one point. I said, what did I call it? Datalad, dati l'darki.
Interesting.
I'm sure you're familiar with these terms.
No,
Scott.
definitely I heard of datlash. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I went through a journey, definitely, where I don't know if it's the right platform to expose it, but it's not about exposing, it's just about my own journey. And I'm not sure the journey came to a conclusion just yet. It's a religious journey, for sure, meaning I don't feel like I necessarily belong in that bubble. And I could go on and on about, for me, for example, the way women are excluded in our religion. I'm not a feminist, don't get me wrong, I'm not. It's not like on the Shabbos table, I'm not seated at the head.
You're on the right podcast.
and being
with feminist.
served.
We're very feminist here.
Right, but I think that, like I said, I love and I quote and I'm very inspired by Judaism and by Torah, by the Gemara and so on and so forth. But for me, it bothers me that in the Gemara, for example, 99.9%, if not 100%, of all the Tanoim and Amoraim and everyone else are just males. Does that isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting that if someone's wife has some kind of stain on her underwear, I have to go to this young rabbi who could be younger than me, and this male rabbi is going to tell my wife if she is pure or non-pure. Excuse me? You're going to tell me if I can have sex with my wife or not? Because what? I get it. If a female could do that, but no, a female doesn't have the right to be poisek, but a male does. All of it doesn't make sense for me. Now, it made sense for thousands of years, don't get me wrong. That was society. Society was established on, a misogynistic power. It's not exclusive to Judaism. That's why I get it, why we all adopted all of that, from the Gemara to everything else. This was all that. But now...
It's an interesting example, I have to say, because I doubt the feminist movement, the women are fighting for the right to be the ones to handle the dirty underwear.
Of course, I'm just taking to the extreme, and you can go on and on about sota and about all of that. I mean, if a woman is in the Torah is being suspected of cheating, she's going through the walk of shame, and she has to, Game of Thrones style, like a whole walk of shame, bare-chested, and drinking poison. And guess what? If she was suspected falsely, I'm sorry, listen to this, instead of black kids, you'll have white kids. That's your reward.
So can I ask you this, though? I hear what you're saying. I mean, I happen to be, these are very, very complex, long discussions.
They
They're
are.
not things that take...
For sure.
I don't think
for
getting
sure.
too much into the details of the quote-unquote potential rebuttals to this conversation. There's a point in having them, so to speak, here. We could be here till tomorrow morning. I feel like we could be here till tomorrow morning without any of that.
Yeah.
Just enjoying our conversation.
We should open that can of worms.
right.
But no, but I'm saying but the one thing I would just ask, and I mean this is just my one thing because it strikes me as odd, is that there are certain things that within Torah that you clearly seem to really, really relate to and admire and see the genius in. So I would just ask you, if you see the genius in all those other things, why the quick notion to write off the other aspects that seem to not make sense? When let's just be real, there's a lot of different aspects in the Torah. The whole concept of God in the Torah is a concept that we don't understand everything. That is the basis.
For sure.
So that would be my question of why.
I hear you,
It's
Label.
either it's all BS or none.
No, it's not all or nothing, not at all. My rabbi, Rabbi Pluchak, he actually is not far away.
Right here?
Rabbi Moshe Pluchak, yes.
Was the shul on Peninsula and Branch?
Correct.
I don't mean it's all or nothing. I just meant to say that Sota is an actual
No, but it's the same
it's a
source.
rice
Like
concept.
you quoted the Megillah at the beginning of this podcast, Miodea.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the same source that says that a sota has to walk bare-chested. That
Right.
says that.
So the way that my rabbi showed it to me is listen, Daniel, pick what you like in Judaism and adopt it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I don't think all of it makes sense now. Again, it made sense back then. Right now, some of it absolutely does not apply, right? Ben Sora Mora doesn't apply. Sota doesn't apply. Women's underwear being checked by a male absolutely should not apply. And so on and so forth. The fact that there are only male rabbis in the Shulchan Aruch, in Gemara, in Mishnayos, in Mishnah Berurah, only male. Not one. Show me.
I mean, the concept of having a female rabbi is not a thing, so you're not going to find any.
Why isn't it a
Answer's
thing,
gonna be
though?
zero.
Because
We can get into that, but I'm just saying.
So here's the thing.
No, but our question is
agree.
how
But
much
no,
are
no,
you
but
how much are you
here's-
hating the game versus the players right now?
What I'm saying is that if I agree that some of it doesn't make sense, then why does this make sense and this doesn't make sense? If that's the case, then I'll just pick what makes sense for me. Now, for you or for her, maybe it does make sense to show your underwear to a rabbi. Go for it. I'll respect you. I'll respect you, Yechei Adonenu. I'll respect you this. I'll respect whatever you want to believe in. Myself, I don't see it as I don't consider myself as a bad Jew or off the derech. So yes, it is datlad, dati ledat. How do you say it?
Dati Ledarki.
Dati
I kind of
Ledarki.
made it up. It could be someone else made it up also.
But the point is, dati ledarki. It's basically, no, I don't think, in my opinion, again, it could be, I'm not here to take anyone else's opinion, that God is sitting down and thinking, this string touched this dairy spoon, and that's why if it touches my meat, I'm going straight to hell. I really think God has more important tasks on his plate. Of course, I don't understand God. I don't. But that's God. His laws, I'm not here to, I'm going to take what I want to adopt. Tefillin, do I understand why I'm taking black leather straps? I don't. But it makes me feel good. It makes me feel connected. So I'm adopting it. That's
Right.
it.
No, I hear you. Yeah, this is one of those. In general, these conversations
Right.
are so complex. Like they could
Interesting.
go.
Do you
and
not
go.
you don't find that dangerous a little bit? I'm asking this as
Dangerous
Sheffield
how?
would say, out of deep love and admiration. Just the concept of I'll just take what I relate
choosing
to and
it.
I like, and the rest is I don't subscribe to. It's like it kind of gets into this like moral relativism that like we find ourselves in 2024, where there's just like no objective standard because what you define as right and wrong is not what I.
Not to say
define as
it's
right.
not to say this God forbid anyway, but there's a similarity with that with like atheism. It's like not like just like who made up what, right? So like we're just
Right.
picking and choosing. So then effectively,
Right.
like, there's no higher power. That's really there's no structural foundation. Like then we're just choosing everything effectively. Does that
Right,
make
but
sense?
it's either not believing anything because some of it absolutely doesn't make
Right,
sense.
right, no, of course.
Absolutely
Yeah,
does not make sense. Or saying, yeah, I want to believe it. I'm making a choice to believe in it because it's good.
Yeah.
It's it talks to me and talks to my heart.
For sure.
Otherwise, I think it's very convenient.
I'm with you a million percent. I really hear what you're saying. By the way, like these are. I tremendously. I've given obviously a lot of thought to these conversations. I'm not someone who just does and doesn't think.
sure.
Like, and then I totally hear what you're saying. Like there's an element that I can understand why it's very complicated to a lot of people to, like I happen to find it easier to remedy the areas of where people have more difficulty with this stuff, like to like become comfortable with certain things. But I totally get why some people have a little bit more of a difficult time with it. And I don't think there's ever a time where we shouldn't try to do as much as we could do within what makes sense. You know, like even when we were growing up,
I'm very personality-wise different than you're describing, but
I think we should try. Meaning,
Yeah.
no, meaning just to explain. Like I remember when we were growing up, they were like,
I'm like a very much an all or nothing guy. Like,
Right, but-
I don't if some of it doesn't make sense to me, then the whole source I throw out.
I'm not. I'm with you. In,
Which has
And
which
some
has
people are like
in
that,
me
right.
has developed like all sorts of religious anxieties in its own right. So
Right.
I think you're better for it. I don't know. There's just like
I was just saying, like classic when you're a kid and like I don't know, you whatever it is, you just watch porn and now it's like, oh, I'm not gonna put on tefillin now because like I don't know, I just did something bad. So it's like, okay, you grow up and as you get older, you're like, all right, I did the wrong thing there. Like, who cares? Do the things I can do. You know, like this
Exactly.
idea of like God's angry at me. Like
that's totally different though.
that's what I was referring to. I'm not saying you're right or
okay.
wrong. I'm just saying like
I'll tell you, the one word that I found repeated here is convenience. Like we, as like I say we, and I'm including myself in someone that used to be. I don't consider myself Orthodox at all.
You don't?
I'm not. Absolutely
I have
not.
a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, I'm not.
'Cause most
I'm not
people would-
Orthodox.
yeah, we were talking about this. At
Most
least you
people
don't
would just-
at least
yeah.
you don't say you're Orthodox. I think he agrees with this. Don't like people that say they're Orthodox when they've made up a new definition for Orthodox and now claim they're Orthodox.
Right.
Right.
You could be
That
whatever
kind of
you want.
reframed that
I'm
whole thing.
for it. Be
Totally.
conservative prax. Be whatever you want to call it. Be hummus.
Right,
I don't
right.
care.
And,
but don't
I'm
say
saying,
you're
but
Orthodox.
the Orthodox
always been my thing.
movement is extremely a small minority within the Jewish world, as we know that.
Right.
So, but yet everyone, and even in the Orthodox world, look at some of the Hasidim in Monroe and Williamsburg Borough Park. They think that they know, even Lubavitch, they know the truth. Everyone else hasn't seen the light. Maybe they're goyim, but according to Chabad, they're not goyim. They're Jews who we have to reach out to. Even you guys, to them, you're like, you haven't seen the light just yet, even if you put on tefillin every day. And to some, it's the other way around. Look at the Kippah Sruga. Everyone thinks that they know what the truth is.
Right.
Reform Jews. Jews for Jesus. Call them whatever you want. Everyone is like, no, we know what's true. So what is the truth? Is it what we think is truth? And that's why I say,
He's asking good.
I am taking what I feel is the truth from me.
I have a lot of respect for that. Now that you're saying like, but you are admitting that like your theology, your values don't necessarily are not within the realm of Orthodox Judaism.
Correct.
I have a ton of respect for that because a lot of people in your situation would just say we have to kind of expand
Yeah.
our definition of orthodoxy, and
What is Orthodox anyways?
and I say just be comfortable with who you
what I'm
are and say
saying.
you're not. But I again, tell me if this is too personal. It sounds like your wife and kid, your family still are within the Orthodox fold.
Yes.
So that must make for a unique Shabbos table to say the
I
least.
really want to understand
and
that part.
unique-
By the way, I'll tell you why I really want to understand it. Because I know that there are so many people who are exactly in this situation and other people just don't know it. Meaning
Right.
they still present as being Orthodox.
I can tell you this.
And you talk about how
Right.
like in love you are with your wife, and it sounds like a beautiful relationship, and you're maneuvering this.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I gotta hear this. We can keep on asking, but I want to hear.
No, it's,
Fair enough, sorry.
No apologies. It's fascinating. I'm like, I want to
It's
hear.
a good point, and I can tell you this: I am not pretending to be someone that I'm not. Meaning, in my community, Manhattan Beach, Brooklyn, I'm actually known to be someone who does a lot of outreach. I'm a very spiritual person. We have regularly in our Shabbos table, we have dozens of people every Friday night. Dozens of people. And I conduct the Shabbos table like I'm a Shliach Chabad, singing, Dvar Torahs, Hasidus, now your turn, And I sit there and...
Bekisha?
No, not Bekisha, but a yarmulke, of course. It's a Shabbos table, and I'm with my family. And yarmulke and ponytail still standing erected. And I'm all good and happy. And this is me now. And I don't hide it on Instagram. You see the picture. I'm not with a yarmulke. My kids see that. I don't hide like I'm in the closet with them. My wife knows my journey. My kids, put it this way. My son goes to a very, let's just say, I don't want to call it extreme, but a very Hasidic yeshiva. And my daughter also goes to a very Hasidic seminary. And how are they dealing with it? I don't see any contradiction with that. So
How do they? I'm saying, how do they ask you? Like, is it because I assume it comes up in conversation?
I want to believe that they look at the bottom line. They look. How did you say before? Akol olecha achar hamasim. Basically,
Achar apulos imshachos havavos. It's from the
achar peulos imshachos halavavos. Meaning, amaise o ikar. In other words, it's all about the action. It's not about the words. You could sit and give divrei Torah and daven and shuckle and be and have your payas or not payas or beard. At the end of the day, are you a good person? Are you a good father? Are you a good husband? I'm not saying I'm the best out there, but I'm just saying, are you, when the kids do see you, are you there for the things that do matter to you in Judaism, not the things that don't matter to you, the things that do matter to you. Like to me, Shabbos with the family is very important. So I give it my all. I host, I sit, I sing. That for me, that the kids see, and I
You
think
can make an argument.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but this is so important. It's just sitting in my brain. And
Yes,
I've controlled
please.
myself a lot for the last 60 seconds not to interrupt, so I'm going to just blurt it all out right here. But
L'chaim.
L'chaim. There could be an argument to be made that someone who has midos on check and is operating within Judaism the way he is has a better impression on their kids than someone who looks the part and all that and is a total asshole. And it's horrific midos.
Dude,
there is a strong
proof
argument
is
to be made.
in the pudding,
How so?
100%. And the endless people that I know that went out of the fold because it's, it means nothing. All of that, going to shul, going that. What do you have here? Do it with passion or not at all? That's what it is. Where is your passion? Going to shul every Shabbos and keeping Shabbat, keeping kala v'chamura and every... this kashrus or that kashrus, but the kid looks at the father, is my father happy? Does he have passion? Where's the passion? Or is he passionate only when he goes to a baseball game and there I see him, blush and go crazy? But sure, whatever, Shabbos,
Right.
Yom Tov. God bless you, but for me it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I want to show my passion where my passion is. My passion is in movies, my passion is in music, my passion is in Hollywood, my passion is in Judaism. Not in that order, but I'm just saying.
I'm with you 100%. I agree with you with the passion aspect. I always just go back to the, like you said, who are you as a person? Like, as far as
Right.
I'm just the biggest believer in the world. I'll say this till the day I die. This will never ever change. And I'm just the biggest believer in the world that a child who grows up with good parents, just good human beings. Nothing, it does not have, it's like a good employee. Someone was asking me advice about a job they were going to. You know what I told the person? I said, all you have to do is be able to follow basic responsibilities, show up 9 to 5, be reliable. That's it. And you are already in the top 3% of the workforce. That's all you have to do. So people think it's this whole glorious thing. You have to be the most, if you're just a normal person with good midos and you're a mensch, right?
A mensch,
and you're kind and whatever, you treat your wife well, you treat your kids well. I feel like that has so much more of an impact than like what I was saying before, and you were saying before, of like following every single detail. But like at the end of the day, and this is a little bit different than the passion aspect you were just making, which is super important because what you're passionate about shows as well to your children. So if you're more
Exactly.
passionate about the Yankees than you are about Torah, but you're sitting there driving them crazy about how long their skirts are, let's just say
Exactly.
it's not going to do
It
anything.
reflects that.
But I'm saying even if you are passionate about Judaism, that doesn't either solve the problem. Because
Right.
someone can be equally passionate about Judaism but still be an asshole to their wife and kids.
Correct.
So that
Correct.
doesn't either solve the
100%.
problem. So
Agree.
that's why I'm saying, to me, like it's always just going to come down to like all the people that I've met that have like deep respect for their parents. The respect comes from the fact that their parents are just incredible human beings. It's as simple as that. There's no like more. There's a problem going on in their life. They're dialing their father. There's a problem going on. They're dialing their mother. There's just a
Right.
there's no animosity. There's no like fighting, and therefore, if the father or mother is a little different than they are, maybe it's not an ideal situation and it's not perfect, but the long-term effect is not nearly as drastic as people that are from the outside are looking in. That I think we've been led to believe is going to be an absolute disaster because, oh my God, like how's the kid's going to be so confused, blah blah blah, and like. The kid is probably going to be equally as confused when there's like a screaming match going on every other night in the house between, you know,
Right.
the
I mean, let's
father-
clarify. Both are. I mean, I come from a my dad's a
I
Shiva
think-
and has the greatest character of any person I've ever met. But I hear what you're saying because that's very much impacted my impression of Judaism and learning and all those things because the person I was exposed to the most has the greatest character and stands for all those things.
I'm just saying, yeah, listen, I
But you're making it sound a little bit mutually exclusive. And
in
like,
what sense? Yeah, I'm not. I granted.
you put the religious asshole on one person and the secular Baal Midos on one side.
No. I'm not saying at all. I'm just saying again because I think we're very focused in our world about religion, and chumras and like stringencies when it's just like being a good human being just went way off. Like it almost got forgotten about. Like I always say, we're amazing at sacrificing Ben Adam al at the cost of Ben Adam al maybe I said that the wrong way. But we're just amazing
Right,
at like
right, right,
sacrificing, but like we're great at it. We know how to make sure that like we're doing all good things between Ben Adam and Malcolm. But when it comes to Ben Adam, we're very comfortable. Like
So
whatever. The guy went to shul in the morning. Like he's fine. Like dude, he came home from shul and slapped his kid across the face, and then the whole family's like the whole day is like. Or like screaming at his wife, like
Right,
that's like don't be religious, please. Just do me a favor, stop being religious, okay? Like just go to therapy, like just start there, like
right.
that's my angle, right? Like it's just I'm not saying again.
Yeah,
you're
no,
right.
I think what you're saying is 20 years ago was on point. Now has become a little cliche. Like in the worlds maybe where like you're coming from, that's true. Like the world where I grew up, that was not the
Most
case
of my
at all.
possibly grew up in drastically different worlds.
No, that's true. Like I think that was like that message in the world I grew up in.
I
at
still
least.
think this goes on significantly more than you're making it
Right.
seem.
I mean, we grew up a little culturally different. I grew up in a much more modern world.
Right. So then yeah.
My family was yeshivish, but the world I grew up in was.
Yeah, this is my long pet peeve. I've been saying this for 5 years. Like I said, I just think that is there's a lot of focus on I'm not saying, just to clarify for anyone watching, I'm not saying it's great. Like I'm not here to say that your situation. I'm not talking about you, but a situation like this is an ideal situation. But that's not the point, right?
Right.
But I'm saying like I can understand like anyone that's judging and jumping to like a judge like slow your roll. Like there's many problems going on with you who looks religious and goes to the shul, and that would be my only thing.
You mentioned something that is like it could be a lot of parts of your movies are emulating your life. That discussion that you just spoke about is something like it reminded me of a scene in Menashe, one of the earlier scenes where I described this scene to you, where he walks into the pre-mar of like Hak kind of, and they're talking about someone. I'm sure they reference organization Footsteps, which kind of helps
I know Footsteps.
Hasidim go off the derech or leave the cult. He's talking with his friends and like, oh, you heard so and so went like left and went on Footsteps, and they're discussing like, oh, like they threw his kids out of yeshiva, and one guy's saying it's horrible how they're judging the kids for what their father did, and Menashe was like, no, they should. It will bring him back. And like, is that at all connected to like something you were going through at that time?
No, I personally didn't go through that, but some of the people that were involved in the film were actually coming from Footsteps. Footsteps is actually a very good reference because and by the way, I want to make that point, by the way, on record. This is super important. Most content that's produced out there on the Hasidic and religious Orthodox world is negative. is a negative outlook on us. And I actually made it a point with Menashe and even the Vigil and others to show us, again, I put us in plural.
Well, you're a Hasidic Jew.
But exactly, I am Hasidic inside. To show that Hasidic world as a beautiful world, and that's why I had a lot of criticism against Unorthodox, for example, with Shira Haas. As good of a show that, well, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Not My Unorthodox Life. That's
No,
Unorthodox.
I don't know that.
Where the
show.
girl runs away to
The
Germany.
girl runs away,
Yeah.
shaves her head, and all that.
Same girl from
It's-
Stissel.
Yes, and she's great. Shira Haas. I'm actually doing a movie with her later on this year, and she is
So talented.
very talented. And basically, all of these shows, just like, yeah, it's so bad that they want to run away from it. I'm making it my mission, aside from all the other films, to actually produce content showing either from inside how relatable and how beautiful it is, or why don't you show a journey on the other way around? Someone who converted, someone who became religious, like you said, whether he was a filmmaker, writer, whatever that is. I think that would be super interesting to show that journey.
You know, it's also
I'll give you my number when you need an actor for it.
yeah.
Are you an actor too?
Not yet, but I want. But you're on sold.
He's open to an opportunity, and he's passionate. By the way, I'll
right.
give you all the passion in the world. I can tell you that right now. Do not do this project; it will screw up Mislaibeled. Danny,
Maybe we'll make it blow
Danny,
up.
Do not give him a call. Thank you. No, real talk. But 1 second. On this point, I had something specifically. Oh, you know what's interesting? I see you talk about certain things that we were talking about, and you all of a sudden get very passionate. Like when you came to the women thing, like I could see your decibel level. Like I saw some fire in you, which was nice to see. Actually, it really was. But at the same time, I don't get the sense, and not to sound cliche, but I don't get the sense that you have simmering anger in you that just wants to like.
No.
Like I've seen, but a lot of people that have had journeys through religious life and are now not do have that very much underlying disaffected yeshiva guy, whatever I'm referring to. Everyone that's watching knows what I'm referring to 2 guests ago. But like an anger at the system and at this and at that, you know, and are almost like trying to keep it under wraps, but it's clear that it's not under wraps. I sense that you are very passionate about things that you don't like within the system, but you're not actually angry at the system. It's like you kind of cherry, like you have a couple things that you're focused on that you really don't like, but outside of that, like you're very, you know, how has that happened? Like, how do you keep those things separate? Like you have these problems that you're clearly saying like really bother you.
Right, because I don't think that the people are the problem. I think the leaders are the ones channeling that, you know, but people as a unit, they're just people. They're just living their lives. You know, they get up in the morning. They want to have, a good life. And if that means learning Daf Yomi and having that, I get that. I feel that. You know, it's touching to see that. The fact that Daf Yomi, if you go into it, like I said, what are you studying exactly? Do you even know what you're studying? It doesn't matter what you're studying. So this guy's doing Daf Yomi and this guy's studying Shakespeare. Each one conveniently does what he wants to do. So I respect it. I'm trying to respect every kind of culture. For me, again, it doesn't work. I don't feel connected to that part.
One last thing, not to belabor the point. Could you talk for a second about, if you're comfortable, that is, how your relationship with your wife has been and like how she has taken it? Like,
oh, that's.
I mean, you've taken her on a roller coaster. Let's just call it. I'm sure. It's clear that she
We need to
loves
do a
you.
separate podcast just with her.
It's clear that she loves you and you love her.
No,
That's
she
why
sounds
I'm
like a fascinating, incredible person.
I know so many of these cases which have obviously resulted in divorce and dysfunction and hate and all that stuff. It's obvious by the fact you're sitting here talking about all this that that's not the case. Are you comfortable speaking about that at all, or is it a?
But what's the question?
No, just there are a lot of people that land up in this situation, and it is a hurdle that they cannot jump. Right. That is very much clear, and it is normally the demise of the marriage. That is clear, and that has not happened by you. So why?
Right. How do you maneuver that?
It's part of the miracles that I've been granted in life. I mean, like every married couple, we've had our ups and downs, and it's always a roller coaster. It's never static. It's always a hurdle, like you said. But my passion is being with my kids, being at home, being with my family, on the weekends, and so on and so forth. I love that. I also know that, again, excuse the cliche, indeed the grass is not greener on the other side. And I have a lot of friends who got divorced from the music industry, actually. Most of them from the music industry. Them and their managers and their producers, all of them got divorced. No one survived.
Talk about Jewish?
Jewish, no one Jewish.
Orthodox.
Jewish Orthodox music artists, famous ones who got divorced.
Yep.
And I'm talking about many of them, and studio executives and many others. And I'm watching it, and they all told me the same thing. Danny, trust me. We thought we're going to have freedom, so to speak. It's not worth it.
It lasts 6 months, and then you realize you're in
Really?
shit's creek. Yeah, of course.
Do most of them regret getting divorced?
Each and every one of them regrets it.
Really?
Yeah. Again, there is an exception of like an abuse case or whatever that is. That's different. But I'm talking about mostly regret it. You can always work on it.
I wasn't asking about you making a decision to get divorced. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, and whoever your wife is, I'm sorry for having this conversation so publicly as if this is my own life. I'm asking in regards to just like working through and like in a Litvish home, which I grew up in, maneuvering a situation like this would be next to impossible. Like, right, a husband who was religious and now is no longer religious and publicly. Like I know a lot of people that are not religious privately.
Right.
But I know a nice handful of people that are not religious privately. But all right, they're not, at least it looks and, it looks okay. And, he's going through his journey. He went to rehab for X amount of time and, whatever it is. And there was chaos. And now he's spiritual. He's on his way back. It's going to take 10 years, but okay, whatever, fine. Like, and she has 4 kids. What the hell is she going to do? She's 33. She's getting divorced. Where's she going? She's tied to him anyways. Let's keep this going, right? Like, we know those situations. But that doesn't seem like, from what I'm getting at, like, it seems to me like when it's clear that it goes, like, to the point where you are, so to speak, in a way where you're very comfortable being yourself, which is a great thing, like, in my opinion. Like, you should be you. Like, everyone should be authentic to who they are, And that, in our world, that would automatically result in divorce. Like, I'm 99% sure of that, My question is how you, like, is this a Chabad thing that you're just able to pull this off? Like, maybe this is something that's just limited to Chabad, that only a Chabad girl and like you guys would be comfortable. Like, all right, my husband's not religious.
That's why I wanted the Chabad girl. Now you get it.
No, but for real.
I mean, look, just to tap my own back here for a second, I think, and obviously it's nothing is perfect, but it's about being present. It's not about religious, not religious. Again, I am religious, as I told you, on my own terms.
Right.
Not religious what the Rosh Yeshiva of some yeshiva, who everyone gets up like statues when they come in, and like, Kvoida Torah, my ass. He's going to tell me if I'm religious or not. I'm more religious than him in my terms. So it's not about that. It's about when I'm with my wife, am I present? And I'm not saying I am. You know that I'm not. I'm far from that. Are you present? Are you good at what you do? Now, I thought you were going to ask something else, and that's a whole different can of worms. Religious, not religious, that's not the problem. Being on set for months away from home, which I am.
So I didn't realize it was that long.
That's the problem. And
Did she ever come?
We're starting a whole new chapter here. We're going to go all night. I think we
guys come back for part 2.
We have to do
part 2 with your wife.
We have to do round 2
with your wife. Yeah.
Yeah,
By the way,
with my wife.
So much
with Jeremy.
I would love to hear this conversation. Just you and your wife. I would be fascinated.
She's gonna kill. My wife is very Israeli. She's. I grew up here, so but she is hardcore in a good way, meaning absolutely no filters. But she would be like,
we love that,
killing me. She's like,
I love it.
Shut up. She was like, shh, what? You're lying. Shut up, like that.
Can I say something? The reason why you're able to get away from this, and not to flatter, you're a very lovable guy. You're a very sweet guy. Like I could see, like honestly, like he's a lovable, sweet guy. Like
I appreciate that,
bro. You can probably shoot someone point blank in the head, and I just be like, bro, you have childhood trauma. It's okay. Like it's totally fine. Like don't worry, come here, Tatala. Like let's just like. So I get it. Like I get it. But
I gotta tell you. By the way, I gotta tell you. First of all, your studio is absolutely gorgeous.
I appreciate
it's
that.
beautiful.
That means the world.
And you guys are really, you and I know you just came. You
Yeah,
came
I
on
joined,
board,
2 or 3
Dovi.
episodes ago.
You rock. I mean that. I didn't even know what to expect, but really, I love you guys.
Me too.
You really know what you're doing, and I mean, I told you before. Everyone that I spoke to just today, I'm telling them like, what's your plans tonight? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to podcast. Podcast who? Mislaibeled. Mislaibeled. Not only my son, like other people. I would like some of my investors were like, "You going to the podcast?"
Which investors?
And-
What's their number?
Right.
I don't want any investors, so
No, but
why am I
you're-
giving up my equity?
You guys
There
are
you go.
very popular, and
You know what's
and
fascinating? I wanted to ask really and end this off.
Should we do the 2 rapid fire questions?
Not rapid fire. This is more important. I'm actually curious, and I spoke about this publicly. I spoke about this on the pod.
right.
We are killing it. Meaning, by all in a lot of ways, we're killing it. Our guests are fascinating. Some of them have been extremely notable. So, like we're putting out a product that is clearly has a 15,000 person audience. I'm in Israel over Sukkot. I am walking down the street. Your Shalmi guy comes over to me. This guy, I mean, like
Wow.
real, like people really love it. And then we have the hardcore haters, which
We love them
I'm
too.
very happy about. I really am happy about. Otherwise, I would have no podcast as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And that's why you hear about us. By the way, that's why you're hearing that. Like, oh, those guys. But either way, that's not the point. My question is, we have 13,000 followers on Instagram. Now, contrary to maybe what it came across on, actually on the Bashevka, where I'm like so focused on numbers. It's not about the numbers. It's about, like, at the end of the day, if someone told you they're next level famous and you looked at their podcast and they had 13,000 followers, you'd be like, you're not next level famous, right? So following has some semblance to like your level of success. I think we could agree to that. And I spoke about this publicly. You know Gary Vaynerchuk? Does that name ring a bell to you?
Gary?
Vaynerchuk?
The name rings a bell.
Yeah, Gary, he's a very famous YouTube personality. Either way, my question
Okay.
to you would be, we have these people, we have our base that is diehard, as you said to yourself, which I didn't even know, people really
Yeah.
right away jumped on it. But at the level of success as far as followers and views has not been to the degree which I have been satisfied with after a year. My question to you would be, what's your advice? As someone that's gotten to where you've gotten is a great way to wrap this, really. Right? In your journey, how would you, based on what you've learned, apply this to our situation?
Right. So I could just tell you that, I mean, aside for all this, I have a side position as well. I'm the COO of a startup that just launched recently.
Was this a plug for yourself?
Yes.
Like, where do we get to that? What the hell?
It's called kinolime.com.
Kinoline.com.
It's basically a mecca for writers. Speaking of screenwriters and all that, we're basically. I'm not here to plug. I want to answer your question, but it's connected.
Wait, I'm messing with you. Please plug yourself. Like,
No,
we're
no,
gonna get to that.
it's a
He's
whole
prized
new.
in
It's a whole.
screenplay.
It's
Interesting.
it's basically we're committing to making. It's like a competition of screenplays. We pick 3 screenplays a year, and we're committing to produce the movie.
Love it.
And who chooses, who votes on the screenplays? The audience,
Really?
Amazing.
not producers. The audience.
They read the screenplays or
They read it.
What about if the
and
audience
vote
is
it.
a bunch of morons, which a lot of times
We
they are.
don't care. We let
That's the beauty of it.
we let
We don't
It's what
decide.
it's what the pri- it's
we
what
let the audience be producers.
You know
We're
something?
democratizing the industry.
Has this
tell
been
you-
done before?
No, it's the first time, and we just launched literally just now. Anyway, my point is, we have a social media person who is, her name is Sharik. She's amazing, and this is the same questions we asked her. It must be done organically. Now, when you say you don't have enough views, see, how many views do you have on your videos? I'm not talking about YouTube, Instagram videos.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm only talking about Instagram right now.
Right.
What do you mean? How many views? Ask me the question specifically. Hold on. I got
How many?
this.
How many
How
plays?
many
Plays.
plays?
Total?
No, let's say on
Any
videos.
given video?
Any given
Look,
video.
Average? Hold on a second.
Average.
That's what he means.
It's hard to know an average. I know what he means. I got it. I haven't even looked recently, but we've had some very notable people. I can just name a random person off the top of my head. Laura Trump has 1.6 million followers. We're collabed with her on 4 different posts on her grid.
And
But how many views are those?
We maybe
guys?
got 5 more followers.
5
He's
followers.
asking how many views do
plays?
these
Oh,
video get?
hundreds of thousands. Laura's clips, just as an example, for sure over 100,000 on each one, for sure.
But you're saying it's not translating into
Followers.
followers.
Yes.
Okay, so
Meaning-
and you're following all the guidelines of right certain hour. You're putting all those posts in the same hour.
Traditional. Yeah, pretty traditionally, yeah.
The same hour every day, right?
Yeah, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever 6 p.m. Post goes out, yeah. People that don't work, they go on their phones.
Right. On the dot, 6 p.m. I mean, you need a social media person. Put it this way,
I'm happy
on
to
your
send me
team.
her number.
You need a social media.
She's hired if she's good.
She's good. She's just working for us full time, but she has other people. But I would
gonna
love.
poach her.
Listen, I would. You need a social media person who organically grows your Instagram followers. That's what it works. I
I would love a consultation just to speak. I'm happy to speak for an
I'll
an
introduce-
hour, 90 minutes. Let's just talk.
no
and
problem.
I'll pay her.
Tomorrow I'll introduce you to her, and let's have a call. Let's see what she can say. Maybe she'll.
I'm just curious to hear her perspective.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to pay
I
for the
would-
time.
No, don't worry about it.
I'm really.
I
it's our
would
time.
love to. I would love to have that call arranged.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Look, so back to us.
Yeah. Sorry.
But no. Bottom line is, I have a lot going on between this movie, that development, that Israel. I'm going to Israel for this project,
Sounds like you have an insane amount.
and I'm going to be directing it and producing it, together with the biggest talent out of Israel, actors from whatever. I'm not going to say drop, names, but
Any of the actors like serving the IDF right now?
not the actors, but put it this way: the gaffer. You know what a gaffer is?
No, sorry.
The one that is like the director of the lighting. It's like
Okay.
it's a very high position. His father is a hostage in Gaza right now.
Wow. This just hits differently. Like the people making this
For
movie
sure.
is
Like,
about
the
their
people that are in this. The people behind the camera are all either war at war. They have brothers in the war. Like my colleague producer Aviv. Crazy story. I mean, he was there in Kibbutz Be'eri the night of. Basically, it's insane. So yeah, everything is like that. So I have a lot going on, and sometimes I feel like I have absolutely no energy. I'm completely worn out. I got to tell you that tonight's session gave me a lot of positive energy.
I'm so
my-
happy to
You're
hear
gonna make
that.
us cry.
So
You can
thank
ask our people that I work with. You can ask the last month has been a level of gruelingness that I have not experienced in years.
How so?
I don't. It's just been a lot. There's just been like sometimes you're working on things. You'll be working on 5 things at a time, and normally even if 4 things fall, 1 thing
Right.
is working. And then there's periods of life where you're 0 for 5, and it'll be 6 months, and you're not hitting. Now I'm not saying that that's true because there's perspective that I could shift where I can 100% look at good things that are happening. I had you on, which I was super excited about. We just rocked this freaking podcast. I don't give a damn, honestly, anyone that's looking that didn't like the B'Shevkin podcast. I give a fuck what you think. Okay, I love this fucking podcast. Okay, I can have every single follower. I have 12,900 followers. I can have 12,900 comments busy telling me they don't like this podcast. I could give a fuck. Okay, let's start with that, just to clarify that for anyone watching. All right. Next step is that I could look at all these different things. Like I have other, God willing, some very big guests that are lined up as well. Like, they're coming on as well. That I'm very excited for. Like, so there are things happening, and I could choose to look at that. In fact, I was in therapy this past week. My therapist said exactly that, whatever, which is true. But there are still certain things that I'm not. There's a certain point where you're pushing, and it just gets tiring when you're looking for a home run in one area, or another, and it takes time. It takes freaking time. And I'm not a man known with high patience. I've never been that person, and anyone that knows me will tell you that. So it's just been a grueling time. So I very much, the point we're getting at is I very much like I get what you're saying as far as like this has been like an awesome conversation as far as like
Just from my own experience.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end with that quote.
Please, yes.
Yagata umatzata tamin. It's so freaking true. I tasted it in my own skin. If you put in the sweat and the tears and the blood, you will see results. I guarantee you that. So you will. And I bless you that you will.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Chaim. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Daniel, first of all, what's your plug? Let's just get a couple things. Instagram.
Danny Finkelman 1.
Spelled Danny.
Yes.
So why do you go by Danny or Daniel?
I went by Danny all this time, but I need the L, which is in Kabbalah, Midas Harachamim.
So we're going Daniel now.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that? What's the Midas Harachamim?
Daniel. Is
Toby,
Midas
we're not
Harachamim.
getting back into a 48-minute discussion.
No, I'm just listening.
Danny
Asking
is
questions.
din,
Sounds right.
judgment. I need the L, Midas Harachamim,
Fine. So
balance.
Danny, okay, guys, his name is Daniel, but Instagram handle. This is Zuckerberg, not God. God is a totally different thing. Zuckerberg handle is Danny Finkelman 1.
Correct.
What other plugs? Can we just talk movies coming out quickly?
The performance with Jeremy Piven, My House is on Fire, the Ukrainian film, working now on the handles. Tin Soldier with Jamie Foxx, Robert De Niro. Working on a TV show by Jonathan Pollard
Really? Fascinating.
I have so much to say on that.
called Mice. Yeah, we're gonna have to come back here for.
Oh my gosh,
Oh my
we're doing
gosh.
a repeat. You're gonna be the first
Forget-
person.
I don't-
Danny,
And
I've never done
by
a
the
repeat.
way,
You're my guy right now. This is my first
Waif,
repeat.
the Waif is something which I'm really proud of. I'm just gonna do it real quick in a nutshell. You could cut it off. Just
Did we finish the bottle yet? Oh, we gotta go.
Yeah,
gotta
we gotta finish it up.
Oh, yeah, go.
This is a very good bottle. The more it's open, the more it is. Real quick, and if it's
Yeah,
out,
go,
it's
go.
out. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna tell you
no,
real
it'll be
quick.
in.
Thank
Go.
you, thank you. This guy, I met him like 5 times. He grew up in as a Muslim. He grew up in Gaza, and was trained as a suicide bomber, jihad. Like even more religious. Hamas, by the way, are the modern Orthodox of jihad. I don't know if you know.
Do you
that.
really believe that?
No, it's a
saying-
fact. It's a
he's
fact.
saying
They listen to music. They have music videos. There is like ISIS style.
ISIS looks like Hamas, though, like Chilonim.
Yeah, like modern Orthodox for sure. Anyway, he was very much. Long story short, he's a frum Jew living in Yerushalayim today with 3 kids, and his name is Yaron Avraham. And I have the life rights to his story. We're developing a TV series on his life right now.
You being serious?
Yeah, and
He
he
converted?
converted.
Yeah,
of
he
course.
must have.
He's converted, married to an Israeli. The nicest guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's gotta be. I get him on the podcast. That's the guy I want.
Yeah, you
I
should.
want every-
Modern day,
everyone.
modern day Reish Lakish.
The what?
Modern day Reish Lakish.
Right.
Holy
Exactly.
Smokes.
Exactly.
Okay, man, what else? Hold on a second. Just Nate, plug away.
Listen, there's a lot of stuff going on.
lot
There's
going
a lot
on.
going on. I'm making a movie in September with Kino Lime on 9/11 called The Falling Man. Whatever.
It's
It's
a
a
famous picture.
Wait,
famous,
what?
the famous picture, the famous book, famous bestseller.
Yeah.
That's the film based on that book. And then
And Friday night at the Finkelmans. We're all invited.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
bottom
I wanna
line.
be at that
By the
meal. That's
way,
where I wanna
by
be.
the way,
yeah, I really need to meet your
can
wife.
we all meet? What are you guys doing Friday night? Oh, you don't drive on Shabbos.
I don't drive on
right.
Shabbos,
Okay,
but-
that's
Drive
fine.
on
That's
Shabbos.
fine. Right.
But that does, where?
But you can still. I'm in Manhattan Beach. We can arrange
No,
something.
not this.
Let's
show.
talk.
My sister just had twins, and so,
Mazal tov.
so
Okay.
we got a lot of stuff going
He
on.
has a
about
lot
you?
happening.
What about you?
Huh? No, I'm in. I would
Okay,
love to.
so
Well,
I
you
would
not do it
love-
without
talk
me. We have to do it this
Yeah, we're doing it
Shabbat.
together. What do you mean?
Oh, so you want to do it together? So
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
gonna have. I'm
still
planning
going to Israel,
be.
though. You
I'm
should go
planning to
take
be
the
in Israel.
experience.
How about this? How about you guys come to Israel? We're gonna meet with some of the.
Yeah, of course. Just
Parents
tell
of the
us.
Chatufim.
You're supposed to know where his ticket is. Just send him a ticket. It'll be there.
Right.
No, I'll pay for this.
You guys want to do it? Why don't you do your podcast from Israel?
I would do it.
One of them.
Yeah, I would do it.
I
But
think
need to know
people
the-
would dig it.
Oh, for sure. I was just in Israel for 72 hours like a month ago.
With your mic.
No, I wasn't with
No.
my mic.
I think that coming to you from Israel, from the
Oh, for
Kikara
sure. I just-
Chatufim, dude, that would be epic, and you know that.
I'm not saying you're wrong at all. It just
By the way, how do you monetize
it
this?
entails. I don't. That's the point. It entails a
not,
lot.
not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Meaning right now, I
Right.
fund that in my pocket.
We-
I have a real
we-
estate business. There's a
I
lot
see.
happening.
Right.
So
The real problem is we didn't get to meet the Rebbe ever. If we had met the Rebbe and gotten the bracha, we'd have 1 million followers right now. No, I believe
No,
it.
100%. Listen, go to the Ohel. It's in Queens.
I know, but every time I'm
Only
there,
for
I'm
the-
looking for hot chicks. I
So,
always forget to
do
dive
it.
in.
And you didn't find one yet?
I found a lot. They didn't like me.
I'm gonna make it my mission. How old are you?
27.
27.
29.
Yosef
29.
Dopen Pesha.
I just want to be honest. If
No,
you're,
no, no. I'm gonna forget about the names. I'm just gonna find your
if
girls.
you're looking for Shadchanis, he's the guy you're gonna have an easier time with. Like, it's
Really?
actually a very easy time with him. With me, you're gonna get some pushback.
There's not a dollar amount in the world my parents won't pay you, right?
There's a part of me that I've always wanted to say, like as a joke. There's Shadchanim that have asked me. I've had this conversation a couple of times. I don't know how it's come up, but I've just been like, I'm like, listen, I understand I'm a tough catch. Like, just to be clear, I'll give you 20, like no questions. And they're like, really? I'm like, and like I've told people this. They're like, you would give that much? I'm like, bro, you from me, my wife? I'll give you more than 20. Like, but you can't say that publicly unless you swoop it
Right.
in this way.
But you don't have. Do you guys?
My
have
parents don't have
girlfriends?
20,
You
but
don't
they
have
would mortgage.
girlfriends?
No, I'm looking to get married.
You're looking to get married.
If I had a
That's the
girlfriend,
one.
I'd be dating for marriage. Does that make? I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes
You get what
sense.
I'm saying?
And same for you.
What? I mean, I would like to start with a girlfriend. I mean, I'm like a little long, like.
He's figuring he's not.
No, I
figuring-
would just have a longer courtship, probably. I'm religious, but.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying that
Right.
You're not 29. Can we just establish you're 27? There's
Yeah.
a huge difference. I remember when I was 27. Not to say that you're younger and like whatever, any of that. Nothing to do with that. I'm just saying. I remember when I was 27. I was literally. I'm 29. You're 27. I'm not saying that in any way, obviously, as like I'm older than you. I'm just saying those 2 years make a little bit of a difference.
They're about to be a
When I'm turning-
ton of fun once he introduces me to his people.
I'm just saying, the 30-year-old Mark is scaring the fuck out of me. That's all I'm saying.
What am I gonna
Not
say then?
scaring me.
Dude.
It's just like, I'm turning 30. It's a moment. Like, you know? And what? What do you
Listen,
think?
if 40 is the new 20, you're good.
No worry.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, bottom line, Danny Finkelman 1 on Instagram. Check out all his movies. Twitter handle, by the way?
No, I don't do Twitter.
I know I'm driving you crazy. Fine. Honestly, Danny, first of all, I want to say thank you so much. I mean, I had this might be my most enjoyable conversation I've had to date. I've been
Not
doing
podcast, conversation, and life.
I thoroughly enjoy this conversation. I was referring to podcasts. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy this conversation. I feel like I could talk to you right now. Till I was a shocker right now. Like I could go till, you know.
Let Chabot tell me that.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to get to.
Brother, you're looking in the mirror. Merely, I enjoyed just as much, really.
I love it. Okay, amazing, incredible. This was such a awesome time, guys. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. We have some awesome episodes as well coming up. Danny, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Dovi,
Thank you.
give a farewell. Peace
Peace
out,
out.
everyone. On to the next.